Hola, buenos dias, amigos. ¿Qué tal? How are you all doing? My goodness, you all look like a very healthy bunch. This is great. Sometimes the audience is mathletes, and sometimes it's athletes, and sometimes it's both. And I suspect there's a bit of all three right here. My name's Oisin Lunny. I'm thrilled to be here. I help great people, companies, and organizations tell their best stories through podcasts, through digital experiences, and through awesome events like South Summit 2023. It is a great honor to be your host for this morning here at the Next Big Thing stage. And what a journey we've been on. We've had the startup competition. We've had so many speakers, so many insights. It's been absolutely awesome. So just a couple of little housekeeping reminders for you. Number one, please do install the South Summit app because it's your way to connect with all of our rockstar speakers, all of our delegates, all of the startup finalists and winners, and indeed myself. If you'd like to connect with me, feel free to reach out via the app or indeed connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll send you a mixtape every 2 weeks. That's how I roll. Enough about that. So another point of housekeeping. If you are impressed with our amazing speakers, which I promise you will be, please do share the love. Take a photograph of them, share them on social media, use the hashtag SouthSummit23, and this is a great way for us all to get involved in the conversation. Right, now you all look like a very healthy bunch of people. You're here to learn about peak performance, and this morning we're going to dedicate it to the amazing world of sports technology. And our opening panel is an all-star tech talk about the secrets of peak performance. And during this session, we're going to unlock the keys to achieving the optimal health and performance results with the aid of technology. What's not to like about that? Okay, so I know it's first thing in the morning. We maybe need a bit more coffee. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But, we do want to bring our speakers on stage with a nice big round of applause, some good energy from yourselves to welcome them to the room. So with that in mind, I would please love you to join me in welcoming to the stage our wonderful panel. So first up, we're welcoming our moderator, Eduardo Valdez, Business Development at Sportsfoods. Welcome, Eduardo. Thank you. Muy bien. And Eduardo is going to be joined by Performance Research and Innovation Lead at the mighty NBA. Please welcome John Bartlett. Fantastic. And they are joined by the CEO of India, Javier Guerrero. Javier. And rounding off our all-star lineup, we are delighted to welcome the Director of High Performance at US Soccer, Rick Cost. A big welcome to Rick. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you to everyone to attend this first roundtable. I would like to start giving thanks to Sportboost, the sports tech accelerator and investment firm funded by Iker Casillas and South Summit, to give that space, an important sports tech track, during the whole day. So let's start. I think I have the huge privilege to have with incredible person and brands here. We have John from the NBA. John, I would like to give us a brief introduction about yourself, your role, and what you are currently doing in the NBA.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Edu. So my role currently sits in New York with the NBA headquarters. The NBA have an initiative to increase the number of international players in the league. And so 2017, they established this academy program globally to try and increase the number of those players. So very much similar to the European soccer model. They're full-time residential academies. There's 4 across the world: Latin America, Asia, Africa, and Australia. Basically just trying to get players in different pathways, very niche, into the NBA. And so the role that I currently fill in a performance research innovation space has 4 key streams. There's program management, from coaching, sports science, medical, health. There's strategy, trying to develop the environment and the culture, and then a research innovation space.
Mm-hmm. We will go through that points afterwards. We will leave the stage to you, Javi. Javi, please. We have an amateur cyclist here. We would like to have a brief introduction about India and what you are doing there.
Yeah, thank you, Edu. I'm tremendously honored to be here today. It's a big present and a big opportunity to bring nutrition to the big boys' table, So thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Javi Guerrero. I'm an amateur cyclist, as you said. I'm a sport nutritionist, and I'm the CEO of India. India is a company that helps athletes no matter the competitive level, from amateur to professional, to improve their performance through nutrition and technology. And how we do that, we connect any kind of device that the athletes have to achieve a lot of data through their day-to-day and how their body is working every minute. So with this information, we can design an ultra-personalized nutritional plan. And the most amazing thing that we are in India is we can iterate this plan in real time depending on how their data is changing.
Awesome. We will get insight about all of that after. And then we have been talking about basketball, a bit of nutrition. Let's go for soccer, the key sport here in Spain. So Rick, please let us know about what you are doing in the USA Soccer Federation. Please.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to switch to football because we're in Europe. Rick Cost, High Performance Director for all the national teams of the American Federation, and pretty much overseeing everything that has to do with like running faster, jumping higher, kicking the ball better, and especially on the technological side. And our biggest mission is obviously to make soccer the preeminent sport in the USA, which means that we also have an educational role towards pretty much everything that has to do with soccer or football in America. And yeah, that's the shortest I can make it.
Perfect. So we have to talk about performance, but I would like to start talking about health, the importance of health nowadays in the sport industry, right? So I will start again with you, John. How does NBA work with the health and the well-being?
Yeah. No, I think there's two key areas. There's a staffing component, and then there's an athlete component. So from an athlete perspective, with the regions that we work with, we've got to try and adapt to the local culture and the flavors of where we work. So working in Africa is very different to working in Australia, to Latin America, and so on. So working with cardiologists, orthopedics, dentists, specialists in all those different regions to support the athletes in a high-performance environment. The second part is a staffing one, which I mentioned. And I've got this thing around sick and tired people make poor decisions. And as coaches, high-performance directors, operations, events, we make decisions every day. And working in the international department means we travel a lot. I have a 40 to 50% travel load. So I'm always on the road, long-haul travel, don't sleep very much. Just like last night, I'm having a few beers, a few wines, that sort of stuff. Your well-being isn't looked after. And so another part of it is trying to make sure that our staff are looked after, cared for. They have the right time off, doing the right things for them in terms of how we show up and how we look after our staff. And if they're tired, if they're sick, if they're coming to work suboptimal, that's not a high-performance environment. So it doesn't really matter what technologies you use and innovation and that sort of stuff. If they're not peaking in the right space, then they're not going to do the right job.
How about in the USA Soccer Federation, Rick?
So top sport is something super strange because it pretty much disconnects with health in first instance, because everything we've learned until like 5 to 10 years ago, we know that top sport's not healthy. So now with all the technology that we have, and you try to measure how we can have peak performance in a as healthy as possible environment, also gives this contradiction of pushing, players to the limit. But we do try to push them to the limit, but we really track them every single day with pretty much everything they do, to at least make sure that they don't overstep that line of like health or injury-prone situations. So that's when like menus come into place. That's when questionnaires come into place. You really want to feel where this sporter at this point is. But I think we have a long way to go to really make top sport healthy. We're just scratching the surface of where we can create healthy athletes. if it ever will be, because for us, like going towards a World Cup where players come in 5 days before with like a 12-hour time difference, per definition is not healthy. So difficult, but we really try our best.
And in health, like health is a really general term, right? Where are you putting your eyes right now? I mean, specifically in one area, which would you say?
It's definitely mental health.
Sorry?
Mental health. So in the last 3 months, we've made an intention to certify all of our staff globally in mental health first aid. Part of that is around the education, raising awareness and education of how can I support you? You come to work feeling a bit tired, a bit down, a bit low. I recognize those flags. Hey, I've got you today. You go home. That sort of thing. So that's our biggest thing for staff right now. And that also applies to the players and the athletes. Social media and the different generations that we have now, from 15, 16, 17, 18, to then the coaches, who are technical directors, are in the 60s. So you've got 4 different generations in the same 4 walls. Completely changes the way that people are seeing what mental health looks like, well-being looks like, health looks like. It's not just physical, it's obviously the mental part too. Yeah.
And you, Rick?
I think it's pretty similar. Like, obviously, in the last couple of years, we're very big on mental health. I think on our end, that has to do with my job, is more like what is the load on the particular player, whether it's physical load or mental load from the press. Everything has to do with how the player is coping and how he's actually moving forward. But we try to measure as good as possible what their mental health is at any point in time, starting at the under 15s all the way up to the first teams. I think mental health right now is probably the biggest asset that we actually try to attack in the proper sense.
And from that mental part, let's jump to the nutrition that we have here, you as an expert, Javi. How can nutrition help support to achieve the best performance for the players?
Yeah, I think we are living on the most amazing technological and digital era in human history, you know? Good examples of that are ChatGPT, Metaverse, and AI in tremendous different forms. So I think this technology allowed nutrition to be, in my opinion, will be the next game changer in the whole sport industry. Because, like you said, guys, mental health is a big problem today, not only in the sport industry, outside in general. And I think we need to know, or we need to understand that we are still like monkeys. So, very little has changed internally. I mean, physiologically speaking, you know. So the main problem is our daily routine, our circumstances, our stress. This is the thing that this makes a big difference if we compare with tons of years ago. So I think nutrition could help in different ways to achieve everything that your brain or your body needs, not only to achieve your best peak of performance, you know, to be healthier at the end of the day. And I think, let me give you an example. An example of how can technology could help nutrition to help athletes and general population to achieve their best performance or health. You can take your phone and you can unlock with your face your screen and see the percentage of your battery. The phone's battery probably today is the most available data for everybody in the room. You know, if you see 5% of battery in your phone, you're starting to be crazy and you are looking to point to be on charge your phone, because 5% of your phone indicates to you that you can still connect it to the world only by 5 minutes. But what about your body? What about your mental health, your recovery? So the idea is using this kind of technology, like ChatGPT or AI, we can help the same with nutrition. We can show everybody in this room how much percentage they have of body battery. And with this information, we can provide them the best tools in mental health, in training, in nutrition, to achieve their best or be the healthiest as we can be at the end of the day.
Would you like to talk about how do you work with nutrition in the NBA, USA Soccer?
Rick, you go first.
Take
Rick,
it.
this
It's
time?
all yours, John.
Mine. So I've also got a background in nutrition. So 10, 15 years ago, I did a PhD where I merged nutrition with typical physiology. And that was trying to optimize performance. And nutrition now, I think, since I've been working with different teams in football in Australia and now with the NBA, getting the food right for athletes and staff is really, really hard. Everybody's got their own things they like or don't like, and so trying to find the variety and the quality and having the hotels to cook the right stuff. And you've got to think about when they're playing, when they're training, versus what time of day it is. Then you've got travel. It's really tricky, and it costs a lot of money in order to get it right. If you get it wrong, I think food has this knock-on effect mentally, and it can affect motivation and mood and sort of a psychological aspect. Even though it could be the right food physically, if you don't like it, mentally you're not going to be in the right space. So I think it's probably one of the most important, not just from a physical standpoint, but just from a motivation point of view.
Like in addition to that, like in this jungle of data and everything that we, collect, and players don't really understand what it is. The only thing they do understand is how things smell, how it tastes, and whether they feel good afterwards. And food is one of those elements where you walk into a room and you see something that you recognize from home, and you eat whatever you eat from home. That's probably the best feeling you can give someone. So we can work with psychologists to get mental health in order. We can work with everything, but there's nothing better than your senses and making sure that the senses are giving you this good feeling. So I think nutrition.
I'm totally impressed about the idea of your federation.
What we do, so we travel with a chef, very fortunate to be able to, and during the World Cup, like our national team exists of different cultures. So we have players from UK, players from Mexico, players from America, players from everyone. So what our chef did was he created this daily routine of, all right, so today we eat something from the Mexican kitchen, but he made it in a healthy way, and we are very fortunate with an amazing chef. We have, I can say, the best chef in the world. But like, he really gave that feeling from home, the feeling of, so now we're from the UK, so we make a different type of carbohydrates today, which gives you the feeling of being a little bit at home. So yeah, it's just the way to, not to give the understanding of something that is built on data. Yeah. Like, we don't understand data, we do understand how our senses actually, cope with that.
I think that the best strategy is to combine the gastronomy with the latest technology like AI, to not only to collect, to organize, and to use this data to improve the selection of the recipes, the amount of carbohydrates depending on the heart rate of your last training. So I think it's amazing, your point of view.
Yeah, and then I stopped talking. But like, all the information we collect is only understood by pretty much like us. So how are we going to create an environment that we make something useful for the end user, which is typically the player or the coach, to actually do something with it? Because there's always this disbalance of getting, like, we collect about 3 terabytes of data every game. But if I give like the raw data to the player, he will say, all right, what does it mean for me? If I give him like, you ran 12 kilometers this day and you did a super good job, say, what 12 kilometers? I didn't give a good pass. So we need to translate that to the end user, and food is a good way to translate it. Or giving some kind of a feeling of, all right, was this a heavy game, yes or no? So we try to make it as easy as possible for the end user, but it's a struggle, and it's literally a jungle of data nowadays, so it's very tough.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems around nutrition last years is we didn't have enough technology to make nutrition visible at all, you know? If something is invisible for you, you don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So we need to collect all this data, show in the precisely way to keep the attention of the player or the athlete to understand what's happening inside or internally in their bodies, to try to understand or to give the best advices to them to improve and improve and improve their performance. And the best part is to combine enjoying the food. It's amazing. You have these tons of terabytes of information. 3 of these tons of KPIs are the best of you to understand your performance, and then 2 Michelin stars give you everything that you need. So I think the circle, it's amazing. I want to move to US.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, now we're talking about, or we should talk about the secrets of the peak performance, right? We haven't disclosed any secret. We are going to start to do it for the audience here. John, please, talk about the global program that you have and the technologies integration that you use for the athlete performance development.
Yeah. Sure. So the biggest challenge we have is when working globally is alignment and trying to achieve some level of similarity in terms of experience and of the development of athletes and the performance of athletes, no matter what the culture and the geographic location is. So what performance means in Africa is very different to what performance means in Latin America. It's based on experience, right? Experience of where you come from, your background, your training, experience, the language you speak. So we try and have some sort of similarity and process where we try and align all those different programs and people into the same area. And one of those things is around research and innovation. So how can we really push the envelope of what it means to develop a basketball athlete? And some people may, and I know Javi knows of the program called Launchpad that the NBA have. It's the innovation initiative that the league run. And it's trying to identify technologies that will help develop the game of basketball at a global level. One of the things we're currently interested in is continual glucose monitoring, important for basketball and important for the guys on the court, but the guys off the court from a well-being point of view as well. So obviously technology's changing now with sensors and being able to then send that to your phone and then get some insights based on all the data that you collect. So that's particularly one area that we're interested in right now. Is the utility of continual glucose monitoring important for basketball? It obviously is in endurance sports and cycling and triathlon and that sort of stuff. But for that type of intermittent activity of basketball, and basketball is only 40 minutes, 48 minutes, that's all they play for. Games might go for 2 hours, but you've got enough energy reserves to last you at least an hour. You don't need to eat during a basketball game. So it's what you do Monday to Saturday to then perform on a Sunday. So really trying to get some information from that. So that's one area. And then I think the other big area is about vision and film. So obviously video and supporting coaches with the use of video, and that's continue evolving in terms of the quality of the feed and that sort of stuff. So we're working with another company which we're trying to determine, can you get player tracking data, so anything to do with sort of distance covered, speed, intensity, volumes, just off a camera feed. So I know there's a lot of cameras in here. Can you just work out size of a court through computer vision to get all that data? Currently you need a GPS system in order to collect. So those are 2 areas we're trying to sort of really push the envelope of performance at the moment.
And do you talk and look at other sports and what they are doing in terms of technology? I don't know, with Rick, for example, do you talk with Rick in that case and see what are they doing related to technology, how they use all these related with data?
Yeah, I mean, sport is such a small world. So Rick and I were talking about this last night. In the roles that Rick and I fill, there's probably 80 to 100 people globally that fill our roles. So in the NBA, there's only 30 franchises, there's only 30 people. In the MLS, there's 29 franchises, there's only 29 people. I'm with the NBA, he's with US Soccer, so that's 2 more. Similar in the Premier League, similar in La Liga. And some teams don't have those roles. And so you're always trying to connect with like-minded people across different sports. I think sport learns a lot from outside of sport, and that's what they don't do very well, is let's look into business, into economics, into production, into factories, to try and learn what does efficiency mean.
Absolutely.
So trying to understand what the processes are when you're in a factory and you've got a thing on the ticker. What does it mean to be more efficient in the decision-making process when then we're working with athletes? So continually talking with different people all the time and trying to learn. But I think, and I'm sure Rick will mention it, basketball, so the biggest innovation probably in sports science and performance has been the introduction of GPS. That then came into camera systems in stadiums. Basketball had to catch up because we couldn't get it in where you've got a roof. You can't tap into satellites. So then you have to come up with a new technological innovation in order to go, okay, so let's just put the nodes on the edge of the court and we'll just connect to that. So I'm sure Rick can talk more about that.
Yeah, I think what we try to do is next to GPS, find the next game changer.
Yeah.
But what is the next game changer? So there are so many tech companies.
Nutrition.
Yeah, well, I don't know yet. No, yeah, you're a game changer. No, so the thing is, we try to, look over the whole global environment, finding that one piece of new equipment or innovation that will actually change the game or will be the new game changer. Probably it will be some kind of a biometrical measurement or biometrical data. And I think right now the biggest thing we can do is actually finally analyze all the data that we have, because we've been blown away by buying. If I tell you how much technology we bought over the last couple of years, it's absolutely insane. And we spent millions on buying stuff, but we don't have the time to actually analyze it or try to correlate what actually those things have mean to each other. So I think the innovation we have right now, the technology, is probably that group of people we will hire to do the actual analysis that will be the game changer for us in the future. And the biggest tech after GPS probably will be some kind of a biometrical or biochemical measurement that we have. Right now there is, I won't say the name, but there's this company who at this moment he can, on the field, with a little stick, a tester, put it on your tongue. If you have a concussion, it can see the severeness of the actual concussion. So that might be a game changer when we talk about, head injuries or, we need to get this player off the field. And not even in top sport, because I think we're pretty fair and good in top sport already, but more on the grassroots level. Because there is where the new innovation needs to drip towards. That's just not happening. Right now, it's still the coach saying, you're okay, just move on. And then on television we see there's a collision, player needs to get off. And 5 people are looking how bad is the concussion. So I think there's this tension right now. We just need to learn and understand what all this tech means to us, and I think that will be the new innovation for the next coming years.
And how nutrition, or in that case, with all these technologies, how can you benefit to nutrition?
I think we are on the same way, and I think all of us share the same vision about what we expect about the future, or including the new technologies into the sport industry. So I think this kind of technology helps us in the same way Google Maps helps to you when you are wrong in your route. Google Maps have a smart algorithm to change or rerouting you to arrive to your final destination when you are wrong in the route. So the idea or the vision for the future, especially for nutrition, is to provide the sports organizations, to clubs, to the athletes, in particular, information in real time about what is happening internally and why do you need to manage your performance. We are working now on cyclists to give information in real time or to show cyclists how much time they still have in pushing power depending on how their glycogen storage is. So I think it's amazing. So yeah, technology is absolutely incredible now, and I think we are on the start line to a new paradigm, not only for nutrition, for physiology in general. So I think the next, not 10 years, the next 10 months, I think will be amazing.
Let's see. We will remember this conversation for sure, guys.
Yeah.
So we are running out of time. I will finish with an ending question. Give me, please, a key message about the performance that we have talked, health, and tech. We will start with you, Rick, please. Key message for the audience.
I think my key message is, don't forget that all the tech we invest and everything we do in top sport is probably not seen by anyone. So the biggest change we will see is at some point players will release their data, and on television, exactly what you say, Avi, is like we will see this little battery on the right forward against the right back, and they will run the same sprint, but one has like the battery low here and the other one here, and his speed will be 32 kilometers that game. And you see the guy running, and you just know, all right, is he actually going to trace him? Because his max speed is 27 kilometers an hour. So the transfer from what we do, all the data we have, towards like the audience and the people watching the game, I think that's probably where we need to spend our new money. Because I think, to be fair, there's a lot of tech, and we have more than enough tech already available.
Yeah.
And now it's time to show to the world what we're actually doing.
Thanks.
Very easy. Nutrition will be the next game changer in the whole sport industry. So this is my key message for the audience.
Another debate, probably after our roundtable, guys. And what about you, John?
I think the application of the technology. I think there's a lot of technology that have failed in the field, and they've failed largely because the developers haven't connected with the right people who are at the coalface to deliver that. Rick just said it, that a lot of people don't see a lot of the different things that go on in the background. Half the time when someone comes to me with X piece of technology, I know for cognitive development, or it's going to change physical performance, or make me run fast, or whatever, they don't understand the application. And the more the developers connect with the likes of us, I think there'll be a lot more success.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming from America, Valencia, and UK. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Eddie. Thanks.
Muy bien, fantastic. Thank you so much, Rick, Javier, John, and Eduardo from Valencia, UK, and US of A. Absolutely brilliant. All-star panels we are bringing you here this morning in the sports tech track at the Next Big Thing stage. Now, they mentioned the importance of connecting. My name's Oisin Lunny. My personal motto is easy to remember. It's ABC. Always be connecting. And with that in mind, I'm delighted to connect with all of you on LinkedIn, and let's build this South Summit ecosystem. Okay, we're going to move immediately on with another all-star panel, and this is all about Sports 2.0. Digital innovation. So right now, we are going to discover how digitization is revolutionizing the sports industry, and we're going to explore the future of sports and uncover the game-changing potential of innovation. Please join me in welcoming on the stage, again, they're all-star, all-killer, no filler. We're going to start with our wonderful moderator. He is the co-founder and CEO at SportThink. Please welcome Raide Luis Baez. Welcome, Raide. Great to see you. Bienvenidos, my man. Brilliant. And he's going to be joined by the general manager at Surare, Alok Kapoor. Thank you. Welcome, Alok. Joining them is the head of commercial development at FIBA, Gustavo Arellano. Welcome, Gustavo. And they're going to be joined by the Senior Director of Communication and Marketing at the mighty EuroLeague Basketball, Alex Ferrer. And rounding off this sensational panel, we're delighted to welcome to the stage the Sports Southern Europe Lead and Media Partnerships at the mighty Meta. Please welcome Kike Levy. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us and to our distinguished panelists. In sports and in terms of fan engagement, which is kind of at the center of everything that is growing in sports and commercialization, monetization, etc., engagement has morphed in the last few years from round numbers in decks and reports, to actual nuanced, let's say, some sort of bidirectional type of relationship in which you anchor the growth, but also the business, but also actually the feedback that you get for your properties, right? And it's data, is community building, is actually building in endemic platforms at the center of the properties without disregarding third-party platforms as well, like Meta, but it is about actually being able to have more control from the property perspective, let's say. And I wanted to start with Alok in regards to how Sorare, which is, you could consider a third-party platform in the industry, has honed in the community building process, and actually how you harness that, that type of engagement and love for certain sports, and create the tools or the mechanics so you can have a nuanced relationship with the consumers and bridge the digital and the real life experience.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's super interesting. I think I'll just step back a bit and explain why I think we're able to do that with this technology, right? So I think the most important thing, and for context, before this, I worked for Uber for many years, which created a new category. But I think the most important thing there was we didn't actually change consumer behavior. Right? People wanted taxis, they wanted food delivered. We just applied technology on it and grew the market by 100 times, right? I think it's very similar at Sorare. So a sports fan wants to own a piece of the club or player or whatever they're interested in. And the sports fan has been doing that for decades, right? Whether it's cards or jerseys or season tickets. I think what new technology and blockchain allows us to do is take that same behavior and take it to the digital world, right? As soon as you do that, the market grows 100 times. Because now, like you said, there's a community aspect to it. I can show it off, I can engage with it. And the most important thing is I can add utility on top of it. Right? So I just don't take a bunch of cards or jerseys and keep it in my cupboard and my friends come every 2 weeks and I show it off to them. Now I can show it off to 100 million people at the same time, right? So I can show it off to communities at scale that are interested in that, and I get social status, I get validation, I get appreciation for engaging in that fandom, right? Then we can also, it just affords so many more opportunities on the utility side, because what we do is we take those cards, you can play it in a fantasy game, you can win rewards, and so you show off your knowledge and understanding as well to that same community. And it's a very large, of course I manage football, we have NBA, we have MLB as well, but these are 100, 200 million people communities online. And so it's a massive niche in the online space. It completely exists there, right? So that's how we are approaching it. Sorare already has about 3 million users, in 185 countries, 3 big sports. So we really lean into the community aspect. And I think the third and most important thing is we want to use this platform to really crash the experience between the fan and the sport, right? Historically, the best thing you could do is pay for tickets, or if you're really well connected, you could meet a player or two or something like that. Because of our exclusive IP and the fact that you have these collectibles, it really gets you access to clubs, to players, and it is only based on sort of your skill and your fandom. It's not based on who you are, where you're from, who you know. It's sort of a very even playing field, and you can enter and get that, right? So I think those are some of the high-level ideas we have around getting the fan much closer to the sport with a community aspect built in.
Absolutely. And actually, when you look at communities and servicing the fans, you need to be able to give them what they want, when they want it, and where they want it. And in that case, Gustavo, you as FIBA, you have a unique positioning. You are the governing body of basketball globally. You have a positioning that is more distinctively known for national team plays. So you are the stewards of the passions of the planet come World Cup this summer. So, but what made you take a decisive step into esports and the launch of the eFIBA platform?
Well, first, recognizing that as FIBA, we are a governing body. We are not the brand that we want people to remember. Different than football, we don't have a video game to help us on that. We are very aware of that the idea of us placing a product in the market is through our events. So eFIBA now it's I would say a lab on the side where we can create a new brand, a new product, where we can listen and can anticipate better what the community or what the basketball fans are looking for, and that is the idea. Because our commercial program, our structure regarding our national team competitions will remain the same. eFIBA starts on the side, not within the same umbrella of events, will Eurobasket, Basketball World Cup, they will remain doing their path. eFIBA starts different, starts on a side, first after an exercise of stakeholders alignment with NBA, with 2K, Tech2 Interactive, Players Association. So I've been challenging, but at the same time rewarding, because we are able now to engage with a generation that start the story of basketball different than us. Maybe we started shooting hoops in the school, we started watching great moments in the TV, but now with the rise of technology, the story of a lot of people now started with a small screen, or started in a console, or started in way different ways. We have data now that confirms that. So the idea of talking and engaging, or like you say, building a community with the next generation is the reason of eFIBA, and the challenge now is to build it aside as a brand that can listen, a brand that can be progressive, and a brand that don't necessarily copy-paste what we have done in traditional basketball, and we are in the verge of that. And this year will be the first, I would say, the first confirmation of that as a brand, and we're now in the market.
Absolutely, and congrats, and really looking forward to see the development. And you mentioned something, not trying to do a cookie cutter model of whatever. It's unique, and jumping into professional basketball now, in the EuroLeague, 23 seasons, probably the most competitive one so far in the history of the EuroLeague. It's the second best basketball league other than the NBA. How, and this is for Alex, obviously, how is the approach of the EuroLeague in terms of changing the business paradigm? In a sense, historically, sports has always been, reliant on media, TV, and to some extent, that actually made many sports grow globally. But you didn't have the clarity on who your audience was. In reality, you had round numbers. You know that you are growing in certain countries, but you don't know who they really are. Please tell us a little bit more about the steps that the EuroLeague has done in terms of building an understanding of the audience and actually being able to double down on that direct-to-fan development to create a more sustainable platform, but most importantly, a wider business opportunity for the whole stakeholders.
Yeah, well, good morning, and thank you for having me. It's been a journey over the last 2 years. You know, we at the EuroLeague for the last years, we've been trying to adapt ourselves to the world, right? Let's put it like that. You know, we at some point, and I think the sports industry was a little bit late on that. The world became a digital world, right? And the companies in most of the industries become digital companies, digital properties. In sports, it took some more time for that change to happen, but I think we are seeing that now very evidently in many sports organizations, leagues, and clubs and federations. And at the EuroLeague, I think it was around 3 years ago that we identified, obviously, that we had to take that train and put that data at the very center of that digital transformation roadmap that we defined. So it's all about data. Then, we started to build the infrastructure to support that and to own the fan, as you mentioned, right? Know who they are, know how they behave, and get the ability to connect all those digital touch points that we have that were very fragmented in the way they were managed by different departments, different people not talking to each other, and truly get that together to then action that data, obviously in different ways, right? In servicing, to service the fans, or to service, obviously, the commercial arms of the league and of the clubs. And that is what we've done over the last 2 years, 2.5 years. And it's been a complex process. In terms of technology, it's been really complex. We just finished all of that architecture in terms of putting all that technology in place, the tech stack in place, integrating all those platforms on top of that, getting all those platforms to talk to each other, single sign-on, and all those cool technology things. So now it's about how we use that data, and we have put a number of tools on top of that, and people, obviously, because data and technology without people is nothing. So you still need the people to manage that technology and the creativity to use that data in the best way. And we've put the right marketing tools to talk to those people and to better service them with content, better service them with commercial offering, but also servicing. We've put a business intelligence unit as well that is basically collecting all that data, analyzing all that data, and giving value to the different commercial arms at the EuroLeague and at the clubs, be it to sell sponsorships, be it to sell media packages, be it for the clubs to inform them about whatever they want to do. So that's where we are now. So we are starting. It's been a long process, but we're starting now to see the payoff of that. It's really paying off now, and I think all of the metrics that we have are definitely showing that it was worth the investment, because obviously it was not cheap either.
That's always good for shareholders when you can say, yeah, the return on investment is there. So that's check on the box. And Kike, going to you, the way I see Meta and all of your platforms is you are an essential tool for sports properties to tap into the thick end of the funnel. So you can tap into the casuals, the hardcore, you can tap to pretty much everyone, right? But in business history, there are many companies that can achieve category king status. There are even fewer companies that could be category defining status. And if you remember, not too long ago, every event that we came, we heard about the Facebook of insert whatever, the Facebook of sports, the Facebook of movies, the Facebook of music, and so on. Evidently, the Facebook is only one. And actually, that's what actually transpired is that you define a category, you're the king of the category. But in reality, and to the benefit of the audience, what does Facebook or Meta in general and all your platforms bring to the sports industry in terms of capabilities, possibilities for growth, and especially what role does product development within the company, let's say IG Reels and all its variations, into achieving that, looking towards fan engagement and community growth?
I mean, the scope is so wide that it's hard to narrow and say, what can we bring, because we can bring so many things. I think at the core of everything, we are in the business of connecting people. And that's at the core of everything we do, building community and connecting people. And that can happen via content that is happening already, how we help sports fans find the content they like. And this is something that we've seen evolving a lot in the last months and years. How we connect through tools like messaging. If you think about WhatsApp, it's probably one of the biggest platform for sports conversation, private sport conversation happening one-to-one. If you think about products that we recently launched within Facebook, like a fantasy game, which is lightweight prediction games that we're doing on Facebook. Actually, this season we tried with EuroLeague with huge success, over 2 million people playing fantasy on Facebook, on EuroLeague, just making their picks. We give sport brands the possibility to connect with their audience in many different ways, especially through content, but also with different experience. And I think we are evolving more and more, and if you look at 10 years from now, I'm taking EuroLeague as another example because they're pioneering in this together with other big sports leagues like the NBA. Think about VR and all these new experiences that we are building. How can change the sports fans experience? It's really groundbreaking. I don't know if people in the audience had the chance to look at a game in VR, but the experience that you actually feel in there, and you're actually bringing a new experience to the users that they never had before. So I think if we go to the core, we are in connecting people and connecting brands with the people and fans. And for the fans, we are connecting them to the content they like. So we're like that middleman that can help sport brands grow their audience and fans find the content that is more interesting for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And VR is now kind of heating up. Let's see what happens in the next few months, right? And actually, staying in the content space, and I want to do the backwards route now. So with Alex and Kike mentioned the VR implementation of EuroLeague and Stadium and all the different things. How critical is that in terms of the development or the access to that product and VR for EuroLeague, and especially in the context of EuroLeague TV, which is your OTT offering?
Can you repeat? Sorry,
So how critical is VR in terms of the strategy for content, especially anchoring it in OTT or EuroLeague TV?
Well, VR, it's all about offering people different ways to experience. Right? VR is just a piece of that. It's about offering a different way of experiencing live. There we have been testing this year with a number of formats. VR is one. Player commentary has been another one that has been very successful. Some others are not successful, so it's test and error. But VR specifically, I think, as Kike said, you know, the first time I saw that in action when we tested that 2 years ago. It's been in the as we say in Spanish, in the oven for 2 years, cooking. I was astonished. It's incredible. Now, I believe right now for us, it's about that. It's about experimenting with a potential new way of distributing our content, because obviously today the penetration of the devices is not that big. It's growing massively every year, but it's still not there. But I think the experience is there, and as the experience gets better and the hardware gets better, lighter, I always compare this to the state of OTT technology back in in the early 2000s, right? I remember when we launched EuroLeague TV in 2007, it was not there, and the business case was not there. But we were lucky to get there early and get ready for the moment when the business case was there, and that only happened many years after that. So with VR it's a little bit of the same philosophy, but again it's about testing new formats. It's about servicing different audiences, not only around live but also around non-live content, servicing different territories, different people in different territories with different cultures, different tastes, different likes, and that is the beauty of technology these days, right? That allows you to do all of that, which at the same time makes it much more complex. But you just need to have the right tools to be able to service all those fans in all those territories in your own platforms or in third-party platforms like Meta, which definitely offers that.
And I think it's key for sports organizations to be at the edge of technology innovation, because every new technology brings new opportunities. And now it's VR in terms of content, how you deliver content. But if you think about companies like Sorare, fantasy has not been disrupted in many years. It was always the same, and suddenly a technology comes in, blockchain, and the company rise and brings a whole new experience to the users and a new business model. If you don't experiment as a sport organization or as a sport team, as a sport brand, if you don't experiment with these early technologies at the beginning, you're not going to be able to monetize when the business is actually there. I compare this with the work I've done with many sports organizations with video monetization across Meta platforms. If you don't start investing in producing the content, building the audience, when the monetization was a successful business, you were not ready. So you had to catch up on everything. So it's very important always for a sport organization to be at the edge of technologies. For me, that's key. And I think EuroLeague is a really good example of that.
I'll pay you afterwards.
No, but absolutely. Actually, innovation is a never-ending process. I mean, you cannot put an end to an innovation process or a digital transformation process for that matter, because every 6 months these guys are launching new stuff, and we need to cope with it and be able to figure out how to use it, right? And actually going to the FIBA case, which is actually one of the stellar cases in terms of digital engagement, digital content transformation, and the amazing work that Nicola and the group have done. It is essential for a property like that. At least that's my view, because just by geographic dispersion of the communities and the groups of people and fan bases, pockets around the world that you tap, you need to actually be potentially even more present in digital than in any other media, right?
Yes, for us, innovation it cannot be a department. We need to have a mindset of innovation within the organization. Actually, the next innovation will come now. It actually will be in Madrid. The next Under-19 World Cup will be played in an LED floor. So this is a breakthrough for us. It's a before and after for sure, for the opportunity to do that. It will be the first ever competition, official competition to be played in this at national team level, to be competing in this opportunity. Imagine all the things that can come after if we start to play basketball on an LED glass. So this is one hand, but at the same time, we need also to be very careful on how to handle it, because first is focus. We need to remain focused on what we need to achieve, and be careful with data. We have been, I remember 3 years ago, having this information, a lot of data loss, the span of attention have been reduced. We need to reconsider what we're doing. We need to reconsider the highlights. People is consuming less and less and less. And we had a very good project with Twitch, and they told us, guys, be careful. If the content is good, they can spend hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Our average in the platform for basketball is more than 3 hours. So be careful on how to read it, on how to do it. So if you put together this mindset of innovation with the right data, but also with the right people understanding how you can listen what is going on out there, then you will be able to draft it in the proper way. If you, as a result of that, because we wanted to do some things with esports a long time ago, but then we had to understand how this could be beneficial for national federation. This is our main stakeholder. How this could be beneficial for NBA and for 2K. They have a business model where we had to jump in. This cannot be our product now. So for us, it was more a management of just stakeholder, like I said before, but also with the mindset, with the proper mindset to achieve what you mentioned about digitalization and fan engagement in the proper setup. So it's a process. It's sometimes things can get longer in the oven to get cooked. Sometimes they get overcooked, but it's a never-ending process. And I believe while you have the proper team and the right mentality, things will be pen around. And we will keep having companies like Sorare and Meta will be pushing us to take the right decision in order to connect in the right way.
Absolutely. It's a matter of being authentic to whatever you're doing for your audience, including the stakeholders, but also being consistent, which is actually the most difficult part. Exactly. Because of budgets, because of resources, because of focus, because of many things, right? Look, we are, I don't know if we're out of it. I hope we are out of it, but we are or witness a massive market correction in the whole Web3 space, right? Yeah. But still, companies like Sorare has been resilient, kept growing, kept diversifying, and me that even though I work in basketball, like many of you know, I'm a baseball fan. I'm a proud Dominican, so baseball is our thing. So I'm a consumer, I must say that. You've been able to diversify also and been able to engage very different audience bases. And if you look at the case of the US, for example, how Web3 technology can enable that cross-pollination across different pockets of people, and how we could eventually see a seamless transition into the consumption and the ownership of being part of those sports.
Look, I think one of the things that, so where you started, talking about what we saw, I think one of the things that sets Sorare apart and why I think the crypto winter wasn't as bad for it is because we did two things up front, which we believed in. One is we provided utility, right? So in any bull run, there's speculation. So, speculators will come. But the point is we always held the line on, look, this has to be an actual product where people have fun. And that showed in the numbers. So, prices, of course, go down in a bear market, but the engagement went nowhere. Retention is the same. People still engage. So I think that's one, the consumer experience. And two is the technology itself. While the concept of the blockchain technology and the ownership is very important, and people subconsciously pay money for that because now they feel a sense of ownership. It's not just something I buy, which is on Sorare's database, and if Sorare shuts down tomorrow, I lose it. But they understand intuitively that I own this. The difference is, though, we never led with that. We never said, hey, this is NFTs, NFTs are cool, buy NFTs, right? So it was always, look, you're a fan of Real Madrid, you want to own this, it's yours forever. The technology is in the background, right? So I think that is the second most important thing is you always start, and companies like Meta do this really well, you start with the consumer experience and not with what's hot in the market, right? So I think that's what helped us a little bit. And the next time the bull run comes, the fact that you're a blockchain company will help you again, blah, blah, but that's a part of life. So I think that's one thing. And then to the other point you made, look, people enter with their favorite sport because that's what they understand. But once they get the concept, they're like, I watch a bit of basketball. So, why not expand to there? I watch a bit of baseball like you, why not expand to there? So once the concept is understood with something they are familiar with, they feel much more comfortable, expanding out and experimenting with some other sports.
I couldn't agree more. And I was thinking and talking before about the category definition. Whenever you define a category by the technology, it's a bad start. Because it's very difficult to get mainstream understanding on what it is. So NFT became the synonym with the product, but it was the underlying tech. And actually, now we don't even call it that. We call it digital collective.
Yes, that's good.
So, guys, I think this has been amazing. I think we could spend another hour here speaking, but I definitely want to thank you, Kike, Alex, Gustavo, and Alok, and all of you for joining us. And yeah, this has been great.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Muchísimas gracias, amigos. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Kike, Alex, Gustavo, Alok, and Raide for the amazing moderation there. That was such an interesting discussion and really getting under the hood there of some enormous companies and some enormous developments in sports tech. Now, our next panel is going to discuss innovative approaches employed by trailblazing executives who are paving the way for success in an increasingly tech-centric landscape. So how do forward-thinking leaders harness the power of technology for transformative outcomes? We are about to find out. Our next panel is called Vision to Victory, Sports Tech in Leadership. And I'm thrilled to welcome 4 absolute rock stars to the stage. Please join me in giving them a very, very next big thing stage welcome, if you don't mind. I know it's the morning. We are going to just give these folks some good energy to join us on the stage right now. I'm thrilled to welcome our moderator, who's the founder and CEO at 2 Playbook. Please give it up for Mark Mention. Thank you. Fantastic. Welcome, Mark. Mark's going to be joined by Global Commercial Director at SailGP, Charlie Dewhurst. Welcome, Charlie. Great to see you. And they're going to be joined by the Head of Technology and Innovation at DFL. Please give it up for Lucas Glockner. Wonderful. Bouncing on stage. Everybody here is so sporty. I feel unhealthy. It's wonderful. Okay, and let's finally welcome the Head of Sponsorship at Liga Portugal, Pedro Teles. Thank you. Muy bien. The stage is yours. Gracias.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for staying here with us and share your time in this panel. I'm glad to see that the Sports Tech is here to stay. It's my first time South Summit. I think that for you it's the first time
yeah.
too. But I think it's important to see that the Sports Tech is evolving and in this kind of events is present. Today we will talk about Vision to Victory, Sports Tech in Leadership, and how we can approach the innovation from totally different perspectives. We have 3 different sports properties. During the briefing, we saw that the approach to the innovations can be very differently unless the objectives mostly are similar at the end of the day. And before we start, I will ask you to introduce yourself and the property that you are representing here today, because it's not the traditional sports business forum. So I think it's important to know what is LGP, what is DFL Bundesliga, what is Liga Portugal. So Charlie, we start with you, please.
Yeah, I'll go first. So Charlie Dewhurst, Commercial Director at SailGP. So principally really responsible for building partnerships and ultimately kind of fueling revenues for our business. If you've not seen or heard of SailGP, I think my first comment would be look it up on YouTube or Instagram, because like words don't do it justice, and you kind of got to see it to believe it. But really what we are is we're a global annual racing championship, the most exciting racing on water. It's 10 national teams, including a team from Spain. We're racing in 12 iconic destinations around the world, in New York, in the UAE, in Cadiz, in Saint-Tropez. And in essence, to kind of like boil it down, it's kind of like Formula One on water. We're built on kind of 3 main pillars: entertainment first and foremost, so kind of fast-paced, 100 kilometers an hour, close to shore, stadium racing, captivating a whole new audience into the sport. We're fully sustainable and very much kind of see ourselves being powered by nature and having a responsible to drive change in the industry. And to play our role in kind of helping mitigate against climate change. And then the third part, which I guess is relevant here, is kind of very much built on tech and innovation. We're a business that was founded by Larry Ellison, I guess one of the most successful entrepreneurs of his generation. And from that, kind of tech and innovation is very much woven into our DNA, whether that's the billion data requests that come off our boats every race, or the fact that we're manufacturing these amazing machines that fly across the water. We're just about to start season 4 in Chicago next week, so make sure you tune in. I think it's on TV in Spain, and we're really excited about the future.
You can recommend to go to Cadiz too.
Exactly. Cadiz in the middle of October. It's going to be a great event, and yeah, hopefully see a few people down there.
You see the responsibility of Charlie is to sell partnerships based on the innovation of the competition, but we have Lucas Glockner, that is Head of Technology and Innovation at DFL. So you generate the innovation to sell products and maybe sponsors for the competition. Lucas, please introduce yourself.
Yes, thanks for the invitation and the introduction. I like the Formula One on water, so maybe I'll try a similar one. DFL is basically La Liga in German, so I think that explains it quite well. We're the professional football organization, so we represent 36 top division clubs in Germany and their interests. Myself, I'm a head of technology and innovation, so I've been working on all kinds of projects, overseeing our innovation projects and the implementation of technology into our competition, especially on a on a sports side of things. Yeah, and I think that explains quite well what Bundesliga is, and maybe leading to the topic here of why do we innovate. I think it's important to understand that in Bundesliga is very traditionally rooted in Germany, so we have a huge national spectatorship and sellout. More than half of the games, I think we have a more than 90% utilization of the stadiums, which was one of the reasons why we realized at some point that we need to think about innovative ways of increasing value and bringing the game to more and more people, because in the end, there's a limit to how many people can be in the stadium.
And we have Pedro Teles, Sponsorship Director of Liga Portugal. How can you tell us about you and about Liga Portugal?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark. I will use Lucas' words. We are La Liga in Portugal, so I'm responsible for the sponsorship department. We at Liga Portugal, we organize all the professional football in Portugal. We have 3 competitions. We have our first and second division, and then our League Cup. But beside that, we are trying to have a more transversal impact on society and on the industry itself. So nowadays we have like new projects coming in. We have a foundation to address all the social responsibility matters. We have esports competitions. We have an international summit that we organize, Thinking Football Summit. We have a business school for people that want to be professional in the football area. So this is the path that we want to continue to take, to keep innovating, keep bringing new projects to the league, because I think we have the obligation to do a lot more to the industry than just organizing football matches. So that is our main goal. And like using UEFA example, maybe UEFA don't have the best image among fans, but they separate quite well the political side of UEFA and the spotlight of its competitions like Champions League that are passionately followed by millions of fans. So that is our goal, to give the spotlight to our clubs, players, and projects, and the league with the political side that is also important.
As I told you during the briefings, we saw different approaches to the innovation. And Lucas, I want to start with you, but it's fair to say that Bundesliga is not new in the bet on the innovation side. It's, I think, maybe a decade ago that you started to invest in companies to create your own solutions for the clubs. How do you approach to the innovation in DFL, and what are the main goals of the DFL when evolve in this side?
Yeah, that's a good question, and one I could easily take the next 22 minutes probably to answer on. So we probably need to focus on a few aspects. I think it was always the idea that we wanted to be known as leaders in innovation, and I think today this is the case because of multiple different projects and initiatives. We are always trying to follow the newest trends, so we've just recently been doing a fully cloud-based TV production for the first time on a live match. We're hosting a Sports Innovation Summit every 2 years, so there's a whole bunch of initiatives. But to really understand how we made this shift in our minds, thinking about ourselves, I think you said earlier you want to be more than a competition organizer. That's what the DFL is traditionally seen as, a competition organizer. You market and organize the competition. But about 20 years ago, we started looking at the production value chain of what we actually have as a product, and we realized, well, we probably are much more of a media company than a competition organizer. And in 2006, we founded Sportcast as our first subsidiary, who has ever since produced all of the TV signals of all the Bundesliga matches. And we started realizing we much better understand how our media partners and our clients and all of our partners, and in the end our customers in front of the TV, think and act. And so we followed that route over the years and founded 3 more companies as subsidiaries. So that was Bundesliga International in 2008. They basically sell the international TV rights. Then that was followed in 2012 by DFL Digital Sports. So today, hopefully many of you are watching Bundesliga on the TV, wherever you are. If you see the product, it's produced, and the graphic and the commentary, all of this is being done by our subsidiaries, so we have a great control over the quality, and we can also influence on what kind of storytelling do we want to implement. For example, AWS match facts, expected goals, those are KPIs we developed over the years and we are able to transport to our clients. And then most recent addition to the family was in 2018, Sport Tech Solutions. I think I'll touch on that later on again. So this is basically, for now, our data, let's say, sports data collection, positional data, event data, and distribution of that data. And by this, we now do have, like we call it glass-to-glass strategy. So from the glass, the lens of the camera, to the glass, the screen of the TV spectator, we control and own that value chain, and we get to innovate within that value chain. So we really innovate along that chain within the different departments because we understand our customers and we have the know-how internally to adapt to the needs of our customers.
Charlie, I don't know if we can define CellGP as a startup, as a challenger of the status quo in the boat racing, but I think that we can say that the innovation in terms of boats, competition, and property has been in the DNA of the CellGP. What is your growth trajectory, long-term vision, and how is this helping to build your commercial business? When we talk about innovation, this week you announced the upgrade of Mubadala as a sponsor of the CellGP, but I don't know how it helps you to sell the product.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways we are a startup like many organizations here this week. We were founded in 2019, so we're still incredibly young in our journey. We've just finished season 3 going into season 4. But we're a startup that has, I think, kind of big, bold visions. We want to set up something that's going to last for the next 50, 100 years, and almost kind of like help shape the future of our industry in a number of ways, which I'll come on to. So I guess our vision is to do 3 things. We want to lead. We want to essentially become synonymous with sailing. So you say sailing, you think SailGP, and very much be kind of considered at the top tier of sports rights holders alongside kind of my fellow panelists here. And it's hard to break in. Not many sports can do that, and we've got that aspiration. We want to engage a whole new fan base that's never really engaged with sailing before and kind of create a huge audience and following. But we want to deliver impact as well, which I'll come on to a bit later in terms of like setting the standard for sustainability. And I guess, how do we actually do that? Like, at the moment, I'd say we're very product focused. We're really investing in developing our product, whether that's the on-water racing, the broadcast product that we develop and distribute to over 200 territories around the world, and kind of tech and innovation, I guess, is weaved in all of that in terms of, actually how do you make sailing immediately understandable and connect to a broader audience that are not sailing fans, but they're racing fans, or they're people that just like tech, innovation, speed. And I guess there's probably 2 things there. I think one is it's short racing. We say, yes, the benefit of being an organization founded in 2019 is we were one of the few sports organizations founded in the digital age. So kind of our product is designed for modern consumption habits. It's designed to be watched on a phone. It's designed to be snackable in a way that I guess partners over here are kind of having to find ways to adapt to a traditional sport and kind of take that into the 21st century. So kind of very focused on that, and through a technology that we've developed ourselves called Liveline, and able to kind of project almost on the broadcast graphics and create kind of a field of play, almost like a football pitch or a racing track. And I guess the key thing there is like it's short racing, so it's entertaining, but it's produced in a way that makes it really understandable. And the good thing is we're now starting to see a huge amount of growth in terms of that audience, people coming from MotoGP or Formula One or other racing properties, because it's just fun, it's just exciting racing, and that's fueling our growth. We did kind of 3x broadcast growth between season 2 and season 3. We've increased social media following by 50%. I definitely say at the moment we're one of the fastest growing sports platforms out there, because we've got this kind of like such new product and a really untapped market that sailing's never really been able to engage before. And I guess then from a commercial perspective, what does that mean? I guess growth for us is our big driver. Growth is driving a lot of commercial discussions. And what we're trying to do, like any startup business almost, is kind of get that positive feedback going, where you have investment into product, into audience, that then kind of into growth, that then kind of drives more investment, new partners coming on board who kind of share that philosophy, and then that's where you start to set up something that becomes sustainable that's never happened in sailing, and that's really what we're trying to do.
I'm happy
Maybe just quickly adding on this, I think it's a great example of why a sport like ours has to be open and ready to innovate, right? Because what you're saying is founded in 2019 is a great success story. So there's something you're offering to customers that catches them, and this is exactly the kind of trend that we want to see, understand, and then within our value chain want to be able to act accordingly and adapt in whichever way we can, by bringing on technology, by whichever way we can imagine to make our game that I think our competition is turning 60 this year, so they're quite a bit older, to make that attractive to a whole new generation.
Charlie, you were talking about investing in the product, but based on the audience and what the new consumption. And I want to ask to Pedro, because we always or sometimes make the mistake to believe that innovation is just hardware or software, but sometimes it's just a product. You launched the Allianz Cup. I don't know if it's the evolution of the tournament or the creation of the tournament. It was based on the interest of the clubs, of the audience, of the sponsors, of the TV. How it was, this project?
Yeah, Allianz Cup is where we try to position ourselves in the entertainment industry. I think we need to focus a lot more and learn that sports and football, we are competing on the entertainment industry. Right now, our competitors are not only other sports. We are competing with Netflix, with music festivals. So on a weekend of fun, have so much to choose. You can watch a football match, you can watch Netflix, you can go to a music concert, you can go to a football match on the venue. So we use Allianz Cup to try to give the fans more than just the 90 minutes of the game. We try to give them all different experience than they are used to have on a football match. And we need to take some learnings with some other sports and the American style of doing sports. Like F1 and NBA. You don't need to love basketball to enjoy an NBA match. It's such a great experience, and you don't even need to understand the game itself. So with Allianz Cup, we try to give the fans more to take home than only the match. We have music concerts, we have DJs, we have comedy shows with the best Portuguese comedians. We have a digital stand just for the biggest YouTubers in Portugal in order for they to create content and give them to other audiences. Because I think in football, I don't know if Lucas agrees, but we rely a little bit too much on the fans' passion for their own clubs. And I think they will always be there because they will follow their club no matter what. We don't need any innovations to keep engaged with that kind of fun. But we need to find tools to engage with the new generations, with new audiences, and I think that is the goal for the future in terms of fun engagement. And we use Allianz Cup as a tool in Portugal, and I think we are one of the best cases where sports can also offer an entertainment experience to all the people that are there. So that's the main goal of Allianz Cup. Answering to your question, we are center the competition on the fan because we have the first and second division very focused on the clubs and on the professional side, and we use our League Cup to focus on the fans and give them an interesting experience, and also for the brands. My area is sponsorship, so the brands value a lot that we offer more than just the game, because I think that the brands are no looking just for static logos on the pitch. I think that was sponsorship like 20 years ago. Sponsorship right now is creating content, is finding ways to engage with the fans with quality and not with quantity. So I think that Allianz Cup, and I invite you all to come here to Allianz Cup next year, because it's really an amazing event in terms of entertainment and not only on sports-wise.
Lucas, Charlie was talking about how easier or an advantage is to control all the product because CellGP controls, or it's more similar to the American sport in terms of stakeholders.
Yeah.
Football is not that. You need to establish agreements between all the clubs, or a vast majority of the clubs. How it works in the case of Sportec in Bundesliga, and what can you tell us about the investment of Del Tatre in the company, and how this is adding value to you to go to the market, not just selling the products to the clubs of La Bundesliga, far away.
Well, I'll start with the question on, obviously from a structural point of view, this is more the American model. We've got the traditional club model that is spread out through all of Europe, which I think has great benefits as well. So obviously the clubs as our shareholders, we are there, in the end, we are their service provider and try to work towards their needs. In terms of Sport Tech Solutions, I think this is also for the audience here, there's an interesting example of innovating our business idea in there as well. So two stories around that, I would say. The first one is a very data-driven company, so the main task is collecting data, and the original idea was to collect this data to enhance the media product, right? You could see on the media product expected goals, all kind of metrics. Then we realized, well, we're collecting, I think right now per match about 4 million data points on every match, from players, from the ball, everything. And we realized that this information is very, very valuable for the clubs to actually improve their sports performance. So the company developed more into a direction where we deliver insights into the game to the clubs, allowing them to prepare on a weekly basis. So I think this is a great service for the clubs there. And then the second one, and I think this is the one that goes towards investment, we did sell the majority of Sport Tech Solutions to a strategic investor, mainly because we saw, the market for this kind of services, tracking data, all of the services, is consolidating quite highly. So there's only a few big players left, which to us as a competition organizer could be a risk. But then through Sport Tech Solution is a chance of actually positioning an additional full service provider on the market. And I think it's quite a big success story, because just most recently Sport Tech Solutions has signed a long-term contract with the MLS for actually the services that we in Germany develop and conceptualize. And now Sport Tech Solution can go and, with the help of Delta Trey and their international network, and market this kind of service outside of Germany.
Charlie, in the case of CellGP, all the innovation that you develop, specifically in the part of the sustainability, because there is in the boat racing, it's a lot of questions about how the environment, how we can take care of the seas with the competition. How you are working on that, and what is the impact of sustainability in the project of the CLGP?
Well, if tech and innovation is in our DNA, then I'd say sustainability is who we are. It's kind of what drives us, and ultimately our ambition is to be the world's most sustainable and purpose-driven global sports and entertainment platform out there, to set a new standard for the industry in terms of how you can operate, and almost see CLGP as a bit of an innovation lab for the sports and entertainment industry in terms of developing new technologies, whether that's sustainable practices, clean energy on site, those kind of things, because the CLGP environment, as you said, is quite constrained and controlled. So but we want to prove, if you can do it in CLGP, you can do it in the football environment, you can do it for the Olympics, and almost like drive a bit of a revolution in the industry around sustainability. And I think like part of this comes from kind of us being sailing and our product being powered by the wind. And it's an amazing showcase. These boats going 100 kilometers an hour, 4 times the speed of the wind. It's an amazing showcase of the power of clean energy and wind energy in particular. But I think it goes a lot deeper than that in terms of actually kind of living and breathing that and driving change for ourselves. Our purpose is kind of boiled down into 2 areas. One is about creating a better sport and using our platform to essentially drive inclusivity and diversity in sailing. And we're really focused on gender equity at the moment, and having teams of men and women racing together, representing their national team, which kind of on the same boat at the same time, which is quite a unique opportunity in sport, where kind of it's mostly kind of men playing football, women playing football, and we have the opportunity to do it together. And then we're also looking at a better planet strategy, which is all about how do we use the CLGP platform to play our role in advancing a transition to clean energy, not just as a visible showcase, as I was talking about, but in terms of how the industry operates. And we have these really ambitious plans around having all of our events powered by clean energy by 2025, which is not that long away. And one of the great innovations that we've implemented is something called the Impact League, which is where you've got the teams racing for the championship on the water, and that really matters. But all of the teams are also racing for the planet on land and on water, and they're scored at every event for their sustainability practices and innovations and initiatives. And there's a leaderboard at every event, and the Danish team were the last winners of it. It's almost as competitive, I say, as the on-water championship, and what that's done is essentially kind of drive improved standards, so the teams really care about sustainability and making a positive impact. And then kind of rounding that off, well, what is the impact there? I think one is it helps us actually deliver positive change in the industry. I think the second is it's getting us noticed, whether that's in the industry or for commercial partners or even for fans who are starting to really value the fact that we've got a product that is sustainable and they can feel good about watching. And a lot of our commercial deals that we're doing now are very much kind of rooted in purpose and sustainability. Sebastian Vettel came on board last week as one of the owners of the new German team because it gives him a platform to do what he's really passionate about in sustainability. And you mentioned a number of commercial deals that we've done where it's kind of at the core of why that deal's done. And that really, for us, two benefits in terms of, delivering that impact, but also having a bit of a competitive advantage as well.
From outside, it's pretty obvious that when you don't play with relegation, it's easier to think in the mid and long term. Football, I think that short term always win the game. But Pedro, in the case of Liga Portugal, because we have been talking and discussing about product, about the fan experience, but how can you push the innovation in the clubs and to think in the long term of the project? The last year you launched Thinking Football Summit. I think I was there to push the clubs to try to think outside the box. How is this working, and how can you tell us about, I don't know if the mindset of the clubs has changed since the last year with all the conference that you did?
Yeah, I think so. But that's the contribution that we want to give to the industry by creating Thinking Football Summit. Is a place where we can discuss the actual challenges of the sports and the future solutions. So we may not have right now the resources to invest ourselves in innovation for the clubs or technology for the clubs. We hope we will get there someday. But right now we use Thinking Football to put together the companies that have the innovations, the startups that have the new technologies in sports, with the buyers, with the deciders, and we try to have a role on creating this networking inside the event where clubs and buyers can get in touch with the new startups and the new technologies and the innovations in sports. So that's our main role right now with Thinking Football Summit. We think that a lot of business and deals are made in this kind of events, and we want to create the conditions for the deals to be done at our event. I was talking to Lucas yesterday night, and in an event like this, I met some guys that had the first intelligent football ball, and we right away saw the potential because it gives media, broadcaster, fans a lot of metrics that they are not used to have. So they told us at the time that they were using the ball in training by Bundesliga teams, but they will never have an official football match with the ball. So our relegation playoffs last season were the first official football match with an intelligent ball. And the truth is that a few months later, the same technology was used in the World Cup. So this is the kind of possibilities that we want to bring with Thinking Football Summit, to make these great ideas, to be in touch with the buyers and the deciders. And also, as you mentioned, to try to educate the stakeholders of football to invest in these kind of solutions and not only invest in the present and in buying players. And I think this kind of investment is more important to the future of the clubs than buying a player to play in the current season.
We have like 30 seconds, so let me ask you one last question. 2022 was a year of NFT, tokens, metaverse, and now we have Vision Pro. I don't know what else, but what do you think that it will be the real innovation in the sports industry that can be a game changer in the way that we consume sports?
Oh, I've definite answer on that one from my side is visualization of data. So the way you consume sports, you could consume already today based on data and live recreation of characters based on that data. You can already today watch a football match live and watch the same match with animated Marvel characters playing each other right next to that. And that, for me, is a huge, huge game changer in the future.
Charlie, what do you think?
Well, we're hoping it's a lot about sustainability and kind of like, I guess, everything, all of the challenges around climate change and what we've seen in Italy with the flooding and kind of what we're going to see with temperatures over the summer drives that kind of acceleration in terms of actually brands starting to really, really invest in this rather than just sort of talk about it in a kind of a nice sense. So that definitely being one. And then I guess the big question mark for everyone is the impact that AI is going to have on the industry and kind of how that's going to shape both kind of how we do business, but also kind of what the product looks like as well.
Pedro, to finish.
Yeah, I will reinforce the fan engagement issue because I think it will be an issue in the future for football. We have the example of Kings League. They are doing a great job on engaging with these new generations. I would say that maybe some of the people that are watching Kings League, they don't watch professional football, and I think we need to take that into consideration. So I think in the future we will, as Liga Portugal, look a lot into innovations on fan engagement and tools to keep these new generations engaged with the football. And I think it's pretty much aligned with what Lucas said as well. They need more content on second screen, gamification, Web 3.0. So I think that's our main goal for the future.
But I hope it just won't be another social media platform. I can tolerate more apps of the properties, but no more social media platforms. Thank you, Charlie, Lucas, Pedro. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful stuff there. Muchísimas gracias, Mark, Charlie, Lucas, and Pedro. We just got the vision to victory right there. Really interesting stuff. If we haven't met already, my name's Oisin Dunny. Feel free to connect using the magical South Summit app. It is your gateway to all of our speakers, all of our winners of the startup competitions, and much, much more. Or feel free to find me on LinkedIn. My personal motto is ABC, always be connecting. Okay, right now, we are going to explore riding the wave. Tech trends in sports. Our guests are now going to explore sports tech trends that are transforming the sports industry. What is the next wave of groundbreaking innovations revolutionizing athlete performance, fan engagement, and sports analytics? We are going to find out right now with our superstar guests. Please join me in giving them a very warm welcome to the stage. Please welcome first our wonderful moderator. He is the CEO at Final Score. Please welcome Miguel Ángel Hernández. Welcome. Excellent. And Miguel Ángel is going to be joined by the head of scouting and deal flow at the mighty Weira. Please welcome Carlos Luis Sanchez. Welcome, Carlos. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you. And they're going to be joined by the CEO at ESC, La Liga, and NBA. We're delighted to have Kiyomi Cerezo join us on the stage. Thank you. Wonderful. Next up, we've got the head of strategy at Sport Boost, David Hernando. Welcome, David. And rounding off our all-star panel, we're delighted to welcome the head of innovation at Clube Atlético Mineiro. Please welcome Deborah Saldana. Thank you. The stage is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hola, buenos días a todos. Esta mesa va a ser en castellano, en español. Y primero daros las gracias a todos por estar aquí. La verdad es que es un gusto ver que en un evento como South Summit tiene una representación también para el mundo de SportTech, para el mundo de la tecnología en el deporte. Y bueno, yo que la verdad es que entré en el Real Madrid en el año 2000 y mi cargo era director de nuevas tecnologías, que era eso de nuevas tecnologías era lo de Internet y lo de los teléfonos móviles. Veo que en 23 años la industria ha cambiado muchísimo y, como os decía, pues tenemos el privilegio de estar dentro de un gran evento como South Summit, que habla de tecnología, que habla del mundo digital y también presta una gran atención al mundo del deporte. Así que daros las gracias a vosotros por estar aquí, dar las gracias a South Summit, a la organización, por acogernos y a Sportbus por organizar estas estas maravillosas charlas que estamos disfrutando toda la mañana. Voy a pasar, tenemos solo 30 minutos, así que vamos a intentar hacerlo rápido. Voy a pasar la palabra a cada uno de los invitados para que se vayan presentando de una forma muy rápida y entraremos en la conversación seguidamente. Así que, por favor, Carlos.
Venga, pues le doy un placer. Lo primero, mil gracias por la invitación. Carlos Ruiz Sánchez, responsable de Scouting en Guaira. Y bueno, contarlo rápidamente, ¿no? Guaira, Corporate Venture Capital de Telefónica. Invertimos en fases late seed, series A más o menos, tickets de hasta 350.000. Intentamos, al final, nos consideramos inversores estratégicos. Al final es llevar a la corporación a un gigante como Telefónica, pues bueno, innovación, ¿no? Es verdad que se innova mucho desde dentro de la casa, pero al final el tener un ojo fuera es donde estamos nosotros, ¿no? Y al final es, pues eso, inversores estratégicos, ¿no? Llevar innovación, casos de negocio, es donde realmente estamos entrando nosotros, ¿no? Uso interno o reventa, ¿no? Que también muchas veces, ¿no? Telefónica, ¿no? Conectividad, wifi, ¿no? 5G. Bueno, pues toda la parte de Sportec para nosotros también es una parte muy importante a nivel de inversión.
Genial, gracias, Carlos. Guillomi, por favor.
Hola a todos, encantado de estar aquí, gracias a la organización por invitarme. Bueno, yo soy fundador de TNBT Investment, es una empresa enfocada a inversiones y a desarrollo de proyectos deportivos dentro de deporte, educación y entretenimiento. SC la Liga NBA es una de nuestras verticales de negocio, son los primeros centros oficiales de la Liga y la NBA, son complejos enfocados al desarrollo deportivo y académico de deportistas y, bueno, y todo tipo de personas, desde las edades más tempranas, niveles más básicos hasta la élite, ¿no? Somos un nuevo modelo de instalación deportiva porque bueno, somos de las pocas que existen, que aunamos toda la parte residencial, deportiva y educativa con un portfolio educativo que va desde colegio internacional, formación profesional internacional y nacional y business school, de tal manera que bueno, tratamos de crear un nuevo concepto de instalación que cubra todas las necesidades de cualquier deportista o de cualquier persona que quiera vivir y formarse en el mundo del deporte.
Muy bien, muchísimas gracias, Guillomi. David, por favor.
Bueno, gracias a todos por estar aquí, muchos amigos en la sala. Gracias, obviamente, a South Summit por darnos la oportunidad de gestionar no solo este panel, sino el vertical de Sportstech de este año. Ojalá haya surtido interés suficiente para seguir, como estabas diciendo, con esa línea continuista de dar visibilidad al Sportstech, que es algo que estamos viendo que cada vez tiene más interés entre la audiencia, también entre los inversores. Y ahí ya conecto un poco en definir qué es lo que somos nosotros. Somos, bueno, Sportboost invierte en startups en distintas fases, ¿vale? Normalmente pues, en fases seed, ya entornos un poco más maduros. Y después también lo que hacemos, por supuesto, es la parte de aceleración. Bueno, no lo he comentado, pero estamos liderados por Iker Casillas, por lo tanto, todo ese conocimiento que tenemos dentro del mundo del deporte, de muchos años, tanto Iker como nosotros, el equipo que hemos trabajado en toda la parte de consultoría, management de atletas y demás, lo ponemos al servicio de las startups en las que invertimos y aquellas que aceleramos.
Muchas gracias, David. Débora, por favor.
Claro, es un placer muy grande estar aquí y hablar un poco de qué estamos haciendo en el Club Atlético Mineiro y hablar un poco de qué hacemos en Brasil. Y bueno, yo soy Head of Innovation y mi responsabilidad en el club es solo pensar nuevas tecnologías, cómo conectar al fan, a los niños que serán el fan del futuro y principalmente la cultura de innovación, que es algo que es un desafío muy grande, no sé si solo en Brasil, pero allá es un desafío muy grande.
Muy bien, pues muchísimas gracias. Y quizá por cercanía, aunque la distancia nos separa entre Brasil y España, pero sí por cercanía de que tenemos experiencias similares al estar ella trabajando en un club y yo haber trabajado en otro, sí que me gustaría saber, por cierto, tenéis que buscar en YouTube el vídeo, el gol que marcó Hulk el otro día desde mitad del campo. Es una máquina el tío. Débora, yo que he trabajado en un club y sé lo complicado que es, ¿cómo hacéis vosotros? ¿Cómo hace Atlético de Mineiro y cómo haces tú y tu departamento para crear ese ambiente propicio para la innovación cuando sabemos que al final el core business de un club de fútbol o de cualquier otro tipo de deporte es el jugador, es el terreno de juego, es ganar.
Sí.
¿Cómo hacéis? ¿Qué trabajo os ha supuesto crear ese ambiente propicio para la innovación?
Claro. Bueno, cuando empecé en el club hace 1 año y medio, más o menos, nosotros, mi equipo de innovación estaba con el área de negocios y porque, claro, cuando hablamos de innovación, mucha gente piensa tecnología para generar nuevos negocios. Pero la cultura estamos cambiando así porque yo fui para el área de tecnología. No que tecnología sea solo innovación, tecnología es una herramienta para innovar, pero ahí yo estoy como una puerta para todos los sectores del club, para que ellos lo que necesitan de tecnología, de pensar algo diferente, me buscan para intentar ayudarlo. No que yo sepa todo, porque no es eso, pero es una forma. Y también porque las startups, el ecosistema de innovación siempre va a procurar la innovación, el sector de innovación. Lo que pasa es que en Brasil hay pocos clubes que tienen una área de innovación. Creo que 3 o 2 o 4. Y el Club Atlético Mineiro fue uno de los primeros a hacerlo. Entonces, traer esta cultura, ya cambiando la área de negocios, claro que yo pienso mucho en negocios, pero estar ahí disponible para todo el club, hacer esta conexión, creo que es lo más necesario, hacer la conexión entre los sectores, entre áreas y también del club con el ecosistema, con las startups, universidad, todo esto, gobierno, para que nosotros podamos ayudar a todos que piensan en innovación, que quieren, y también para que ellos nos ayuden a hacer innovación. Creo que es esto.
Perfecto, muchísimas gracias. David, vosotros en Sportbus sois aceleradora, sois inversores, ayudáis a compañías a crear ese brazo de inversión en Sportec. La verdad es que podría estar la media hora solo preguntándole cosas porque es algo que me fascina, cómo además los deportistas se involucran en devolver parte de lo que han ganado, tanto económicamente como a nivel de imagen, y cómo devolvérselo a la propia industria. Pero sí que me gustaría saber, y yo creo que es de interés para todo el mundo, cuál es un poco vuestra tesis a la hora de invertir en unas compañías o en otras, bueno, también en base a vuestra experiencia.
Sí, como decía en la intro, nosotros somos gente que hemos trabajado en club, que hemos trabajado en federación, asociaciones, o sea, vivimos muy desde dentro del mundo del deporte y al final la tesis es muy simple. Toda aquella compañía que nosotros vemos que tenga un market fit claro, es decir, que está solucionando problemas de la industria, estamos dispuestos a invertir. Muchos nos hacen las típicas preguntas, ¿no? Oye, ¿qué fase, qué maduración tiene que tener la compañía? Pues hemos hecho cosas más seed. Es verdad que sí que esperamos un producto ya mínimo viable, que a lo mejor tenga algo de facturación o por lo menos hayan pilotado alguna solución con el cliente en cuestión. Y a partir de ahí, pues ya digo, cosas más maduras, también las hemos invertido en todo tipo de deportes, incluso proyectos que trascienden el mundo del deporte, como bueno, nuestra primera inversión Eindhoven, que también estamos coinvertidos con nuestros amigos de Guaira. Ellos, por ejemplo, su core de negocio, bueno, hacen interpretación de electrocardiogramas a través de la inteligencia artificial y al final su core son el hospitalario, la farma, pero también tiene un nicho que puede atacar, que es el mundo del deporte. Por lo tanto, en esa situación estamos cómodos. O sea que bienvenidos todos los proyectos, tenéis todos cabida en Sportbus, diría yo, de alguna forma o de otra.
Genial, muchísimas gracias, David. Kiyomi, vosotros al final trabajáis con el core business del deporte, ¿no? Con el deportista, os preocupáis de su formación, tanto a nivel educativo como a nivel profesional, ¿no? Deportista. ¿Qué herramientas innovadoras, cómo utilizáis la innovación para mejorar ese performance, para hacer ese seguimiento de los chavales y de los deportistas? Yo creo que es muy interesante para todo el mundo conocer un poco qué es lo que estáis haciendo en porque además estáis vinculados a dos marcas tan importantes como NBA y la Liga, que ya de por sí, pues bueno, da una seriedad al proyecto muy importante.
Sin duda, a ver, nosotros teníamos varios retos como institución. Primero porque es un modelo que por lo menos fuera de Estados Unidos no se desarrolla o no se desarrolla de manera conjunta, siempre está disgregada normalmente la educación de la parte deportiva, ¿no? Y nosotros hemos querido crear un modelo integrador que sea capaz de alinear por el bien del deportista o del estudiante todo, ¿no? Desde qué descansa, qué come, qué entrena, qué estudia, ¿no? En definitiva, ayudarle a tener un desarrollo 360, ¿no? En todas sus diferentes facetas, ¿no? Porque al final nosotros entendemos que ya, a mí me gusta decir que no formamos deportistas, sino que formamos personas, ¿no? Y yo creo que ese es el mayor valor. Son personas en las cuales nosotros como institución, nosotros no somos un club profesional, ¿no? En el cual buscamos un talento, ¿no? Nosotros nos encargamos de formar, educar y de mejorar en todos los ámbitos, ¿no? Independientemente de que alcancen o no su meta aspiracional, que puede ser llegar a la élite y estudiar en una universidad americana becado, ¿no? Con lo cual teníamos una serie de grandes retos. Nosotros, nuestra filosofía ha sido la de encontrar los mejores partners tecnológicos posibles en diferentes áreas y desde un punto de vista de integrador, o sea, crear un clúster tecnológico en el cual podamos obtener información de diferentes ámbitos, de diferentes áreas y de conocimientos para que ponerlas a disposición de la mejora de los deportistas, que pueden ir desde sistemas de virtualización para las aulas, para que los deportistas, un modelo flexible, puedan seguir su plan académico, independientemente de que estén presencialmente o no, cámaras inteligentes o dispositivos IoT que recogen un montón de información sobre lo que ocurre en el terreno de juego, ¿no? O información que puede venir desde el punto de vista de la nutrición o de su descanso, ¿no? Y de tal manera que toda esa información quede integrada en una misma plataforma, por así decirlo, que permite a los diferentes actores, ¿no? de los diferentes departamentos estar alineados en qué pasa, qué ocurre y en qué pueden ayudar por el bien desde un punto de vista no vertical, sino más, digamos, transversal a todo lo que ocurre, ¿no?
Qué bien, súper interesante. Bueno, Carlos, también trabajé en Telefónica, así que antes hemos estado revisando la lista de personas que conocíamos ambos, que es muy típico. Y claro, cuando piensas en Telefónica, en Guaira y el deporte, piensas más en su faceta de patrocinio. Todos estamos, bueno, Telefónica siempre históricamente ha sido una de las marcas que más inversión ha hecho en el mundo del patrocinio deportivo, pero es cierto que sorprende un poco verla también metida en el mundo del Sportec, ¿no? Invirtiendo, siendo un player importante, un jugador, nunca mejor dicho. Cuéntanos, ¿cómo fue la decisión de que Guaira empezara a entrar en el mundo del Sportec?
Justo, pues al final con ese afán de como, o sea, yo muchas veces, ¿no? Para empezar, cuando le explico a la gente a qué me dedico, ¿no? Sobre todo a mi abuela, ¿no? Y hablando de deporte siempre le digo que soy un poco como un ojeador en un partido de fútbol, ¿no? Tengo que conocer muy bien el terreno de juego, tengo que tener buenos contactos y buen ojo para al final saber en qué terminamos invirtiendo, ¿no? Y siempre invirtiendo en lo mejor, ¿no? Y con ese afán de intentar buscar lo mejor, lógicamente nos vamos adaptando a diferentes tendencias, ¿no? En la parte de Sportec, oye, pues al final sí que hemos visto, es una parte muy interesante, en la que además, como digo, sí que podemos aportar desde Telefónica, o sea, nos metemos en proyectos en los que podemos aportar algo más que capital, ¿no? Que es lo interesante para nosotros, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, al final con ese afán, oye, pues lógicamente llevamos la conectividad de muchos estadios, oye, ¿por qué no, aparte de esa conectividad, no te damos otro tipo de servicios, ¿no? Y ahí es donde estamos. Al final, nosotros siempre digo que Guaira es uno de los vehículos de Telefónica para invertir, somos inversores, tenemos esa labor, pero tenemos también la labor de acercarles qué está pasando, o sea, como mero aprendizaje, ¿no? Oye, ¿qué está pasando en el mercado en cuanto a diferentes tecnologías? Y la parte de Sportec, lógicamente, es una de ellas, ¿no? Es cierto que a nivel, siempre lo digo muchas veces, ¿no? Que tenemos que encontrar un caso de negocio, ¿no? Para poder invertir. A nivel de uso interno, o sea, a lo mejor alguna liguilla puede haber, ¿no? Que podemos estar, pero sobre todo es la parte esa de reventa, ¿no? Encontrar cómo esos servicios, oye, podemos ofrecerlos a terceros y además nutrirnos de lo que están haciendo, ¿no? Y para ello, como decía David, oye, pues es alinearnos con gente que tiene mucho conocimiento, ¿no? Tenemos gente muy buena dentro de Telefónica, mucho experto, pero al final, dentro de la tesis, uno de los puntos es la coinversión, es saber qué puntos de vista, ¿no?, tienen otros compañeros con los que vamos a ejecutar las operaciones, ¿no? Y en este caso, oye, pues el caso de Sportbus para nosotros es totalmente estratégico, ¿no? Aparte de que son buena gente, sí que toda la parte del portfolio, todos estos proyectos nos ayudan no solo a tener una cartera consistente, ¿no?, a nivel múltiplo, a nivel rentabilidad, sino también a tener un conocimiento de mercado.
Perfecto, pues muchísimas gracias, Carlos. Débora, estáis construyendo un nuevo estadio, lo tenéis ya casi terminado. Tenéis una nueva aplicación que estáis lanzando también. Perdonad. Cuéntanos un poco cómo abordáis estos nuevos proyectos tan importantes, ¿no?, en un club de fútbol.
Sí, estamos enfocados en esto, en empezar la experiencia del fan desde su casa, cuando recibe alguna notificación en sus redes sociales de algún evento o de algún partido, hasta el llegar al estadio, que es la Arena MRV, hasta estar adentro, cómo va la dirección adentro, hasta después, cuando llega a su casa después del evento. Entonces, todo este camino, nosotros estamos pensando todas las tecnologías, todas las herramientas que vamos a conectar a él y también hacer una mejor experiencia, el mejor producto para que ellos puedan estar ahí con una buena experiencia, en fin. Entonces, la aplicación, nosotros habíamos ya una aplicación el año pasado y hicimos un trabajo muy fuerte de traer los datos, traer el fan para eso. Estábamos con 50.000 personas, terminamos el año cerramos el año con 200.000 personas más o menos, 50.000 personas todo el mes. Y bueno, para mí esto ya es algo que es muy bueno porque es un trabajo que hicimos para ahora, con la Arena, poder cambiamos la aplicación, esto es importante decir. Y claro, estamos empezando desde cero otra vez, pero no pasa nada, estamos ahí y ya estamos con un buen número también. Y bueno, de la Arena, el estadio estamos haciendo 5 eventos como testes. Entonces, el primer evento ya hicimos en abril para 5.000 personas. Vamos a tener un evento en julio para 10.000-15.000 personas. Y así va hasta el último evento que va a ser para todo el estadio, que es 46.000 personas. No es un estadio muy grande, pero es lo que pensamos para todo el año, porque el fútbol brasileño se pasa todo el año, pero los primeros meses, como es solo estadual, no hay mucha gente, la base es 30.000 personas en medio por partido, entonces, en fin. Y estamos enfocados en esto, en trabajar en estos testes de reconocimiento facial que vamos a tener, la iluminación, el sonido que va a cambiar con los shows, con los eventos. Yo estaba hablando con ellos, algo como Coldplay, vamos a hacer algo así también. Y todo esto de tecnología, Wi-Fi, en fin. Nuestra marca es ser la arena más tecnológica de la América Latina. Estamos trabajando para esto y creo que hasta octubre ya estaremos con todo listo para hacer los partidos oficiales.
Perfecto, muchísimas gracias, Débora. Mucha suerte.
Sí.
Disculpad. David, vosotros sois la aceleradora de Iker Casillas. Además, estáis ayudando en otros proyectos, también intentando involucrar a deportistas, que a mí, como os decía al principio, me parece pues, algo realmente importante. ¿Cómo acometéis esto? ¿Cuánto de importante es involucrar al deportista dentro de vuestro día a día, de la inversión, del propio negocio en sí?
Como bien decías, este proyecto nace por iniciativa de Iker y yo creo que parte también de su compromiso de ayudar a las startups. Ayer, los que pudisteis estar en la charla, yo creo que también lo escuchasteis al propio Iker, que su compromiso es precisamente ese, ¿no? El que igual que a él le ayudaron en su carrera deportiva, su entorno más cercano para poder llegar donde estaba, no obviamente con dinero, pero sí con esfuerzo y con motivación de llevarla a los partidos, de un compromiso familiar y demás, pues él quiere exportar también esta misma mentalidad a distintos nichos. Pues, por ejemplo, con su fundación Iker, pues tiene unos objetivos y unos colectivos a los que ayuda. En este caso, obviamente, partimos de que es una iniciativa también con ánimo de lucro, es decir, o sea, nosotros nuestro objetivo cuando estamos mirando startups tienen que estar validadas, como te decía, ese market fit, pero también que tengan la posibilidad de generar ingresos. Pero es verdad que es un colectivo que es muy susceptible de que nosotros les podamos ayudar. Cuando digo nosotros es desde Sportus, pero sobre todo los deportistas. Entonces ahí conecto con esta parte de los deportistas y cómo yo veo que es tenerles por lo menos dentro de un cap table, en una compañía o como advisors, al final suma mucho. Es decir, es gente que ha estado muchos años, y no estoy hablando solamente del primer nivel, también me voy a un segundo, tercero nivel, pero es gente que ya ha adquirido unos valores, una resiliencia, una capacidad de asumir el fracaso, ¿vale? Que yo creo que hay que atesorar a la hora de montar una startup, un proyecto empresarial, y ellos pueden dar esa parte, ese recorrido y ese conocimiento, incluso esa energía positiva. Y después, a la hora de desarrollar negocio, es gente que tiene muchos contactos, se ha movido en entornos que oye, hacen mucho más accesible esos approaches comerciales, ¿vale? Y nosotros, ¿cómo lo estamos ejecutando esto? Tenemos un proyecto, iniciativa nuestra y de la Liga, que se llama el Player Entrepreneurship Office, que es un departamento que hemos creado para acercar la innovación a este colectivo, de los deportistas profesionales y los deportistas que participan en la Liga, aunque después se sumó también el CSD, ADESP, o sea que ahí integramos no solamente a futbolistas, sino a otro tipo de atletas. ¿Y qué es lo que hacemos con ellos? Pues les ofrecemos la posibilidad de participar en startups en las que nosotros también estamos participando, en otras en las que nosotros no participamos activamente como inversores, pero que vemos que tienen un encaje pues, para jugar ese papel de advisors o que ellos puedan invertir por su cuenta. Y al final es que el deportista se sienta motivado y que se crea su realidad, porque muchas veces terminan la carrera y se piensan que no saben nada y no, oye, atesoras un montón de valores, de capacidades que a lo mejor no te has dado cuenta que las tenías, y también un network y una capacidad de desarrollar negocio que lo tienes que poner en valor, y nosotros queremos abrirles los ojos con este proyecto para que se junten con las startups de una forma o de otra. O sea que para nosotros el atleta, por el propio Iker, pero también por nuestra filosofía, forma parte, vamos, básica de nuestra propuesta de valor para las startups.
Genial. David, muchas gracias. Kiyomi, cuando hablamos hace unos días, me contaste, a ver si lo digo bien, el pasaporte deportivo, ¿no? Que es bueno, cuéntalo tú. Guardáis toda la información de los chavales utilizando blockchain, ¿no?
Bueno, a ver, nosotros como compañía queremos ocupar un espacio que está justo entre lo que sería el deporte base, el grassroots, y lo que es la élite, ¿no? Hay un gran salto y muchas veces vimos que muchos deportistas dan ese salto sin estar suficientemente preparados. Preparados me refiero no deportivamente, que seguro que sí, pero más a nivel personal, a nivel de formación, a nivel de educación. Entonces, pretendemos ocupar un espacio intermedio, en el cual nunca nosotros seremos el final del camino aspiracional de un deportista, porque no somos ni un club profesional ni nada por el estilo, pero sí que somos una plataforma que seamos capaces de formar, cuidar, capacitar mejor que el deporte base y seguramente mejor que el área ya profesional. De tal manera que nosotros decimos, ven con nosotros, capacítate mejor, te daremos más exposición y será más fácil ese salto, no será tan abrupto para alcanzarlo. Que luego puedas alcanzarlo o no, que eso es muy importante, que nosotros jamás prometemos eso. Nosotros la única promesa que hacemos es que todo el que entra sale mejor, pero ya depende de ti que puedas alcanzar esa meta aspiracional. Entonces, al hilo de todo eso, decidimos que necesitábamos una plataforma que conectase precisamente el grassroots con nosotros y con lo profesional, ¿no? Y desde tres vertientes, desde del deportista, obviamente, para su mejora en su desempeño, ¿no? Que le pueda servir, desde el punto de vista de las familias, que normalmente nosotros a día de hoy tenemos más de 35 nacionalidades entre los diferentes deportistas que tenemos, con lo cual Son chicos entre 12 y 23 años que vienen de todas partes del mundo, que viven lejos de su familia, y esto, pues el que el papá pueda ver todo lo que está haciendo, sus rendimientos, sus vídeos, sus entrenamientos, pues también le acerca la experiencia a ellos, ¿no? Aparte que eso es un asset que quedará para toda la vida, independientemente de que alcance una meta aspiracional elevada o no. Y luego, desde el punto de vista facilitador con su futuro, que puede ser los clubes profesionales, que pueden ser las universidades, ¿no? De tal manera que creando una plataforma blockchain en la cual nosotros, al hilo de lo que te dije antes, ¿no? de abarcar un montón de canales de información, ¿no? que nosotros procesamos y que luego introducimos esta plataforma, creamos, digamos, un pasaporte que da una visibilidad sobre todo el desempeño que hace el deportista desde sus comienzos, ¿no? que a día de hoy pues, es el papá el que graba con su vídeo, con su móvil, hasta la élite, ¿no? De tal manera que ahí tienes no solo la información deportiva o un vídeo concreto, sino que tienes todo el desempeño durante toda su evolución desde los últimos 7, 8 años. De tal manera que ayudas a que un ojeador, por ejemplo, diga, oye, pues ya no tengo que ir a verle una semana concreta, un día, a ver si tiene un buen día o no. Tengo una progresión de una persona, ¿no? Y desde el punto de vista del mundo de la universidad también queremos generar un modelo de becas que se basen en datos objetivos, ¿no? Es decir, oye, a lo mejor pues, un deportista se puede ganar su beca si se esfuerza por ello, ¿no? Y tú puedes medir de una manera objetiva toda esta información. Entonces lo que buscamos es introducir la objetividad dentro del deporte, que yo creo que le hace mucha falta y que es vehículo de muchas oportunidades realmente para todos, ¿no?
Genial, muchas gracias, Guillomi. Carlos, cuéntanos alguna startup de Sportec en la que hayáis invertido y qué tal os está yendo.
Justo, pues nosotros, bueno, históricamente llevamos más de 11 años invirtiendo. Sí que al principio estábamos invirtiendo en fases un poco más iniciales. A día de hoy, como estaba diciendo, ya son proyectos consolidados, equipos fuertes y que estén traccionando, que eso es importante. Y seguimos muy activos, ¿no? Igual que te digo que hacemos ciberseguridad de manera histórica, la parte del Sportec, más ahora con esta alianza con David, con el equipazo de Sportboost, pues es uno de los verticales que estamos poniendo mucho el foco, ¿no? Y algunas de las compañías, tenemos más de 500, 800 participadas, o sea que es bastante grande el portfolio. Ya digo, Telefónica fue uno de los primeros corporates que metió la parte de innovación y de inversión en sus tripas, ¿no? En su ADN. Y bueno, aquí la pregunta es, dentro de Sportec, ¿qué es el Sportec, ¿no? Porque para nosotros toda la parte de recovery, ¿no? de recuperación del deportista, pues desde la nutrición, por ejemplo, con India, que habló hace unas charlas atrás, en el día de hoy, pues con Javi, con la gente de India, pues es uno de los proyectos, ¿no? que invertimos. Por la parte de, pues bueno, como decía David, ¿no? Idoben, coinvertida con ellos, pues oye, lo mismo, llevar la monitorización del pulso cardíaco y conseguir prevenir arritmias, ¿no? Y bueno, luego también, oye, pues un RAND, un Volava, bueno, hay diferentes, ¿no? Siempre intentando, como decía, aportar algo más, ¿no? Alguna visión o un aprendizaje, ¿no? O sea, al final, pues toda la parte de fan engagement la estamos explorando, todo lo que es tokenización también, con Crossmint, ¿vale? Que es una compañía que también que hemos invertido y lleva toda la parte de NFTs. Entonces, bueno, como puedes ver, podemos tocar, ¿no? varios puntos. Son compañías que no solamente están funcionando muy bien, sino que además nos están dando un conocimiento de mercado, un conocimiento de sus tecnologías que nos está ayudando a crecer y a aprender de ellas.
Muy bien. Muchísimas gracias, Carlos. Muchísimas gracias a los cuatro. Ya, como os decía, es que podríamos estar hablando media hora con cada uno de ellos y aún así tendríamos ganas de preguntar más. Nos hemos dejado alguna pregunta en el tintero, ya estamos fuera de tiempo y por respeto a vosotros y al resto de invitados vamos a cerrar aquí. De verdad, Débora, David, Guillomi, Carlos, muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas gracias a todos vosotros por escucharnos, por haber venido y pues un fuerte aplauso para ellos, ¿no?
Gracias.
Muy bien. Muchísimas gracias, Miguel Ángel, Carlos, Guillomi, David, and Deborah. That was absolutely wonderful. Great stuff there. Okay, now it is time to move on to one of everybody's favorite topics, Talking about dollar bills, y'all. Yes, show me the sports tech money. We are now going to think and talk about accelerating the game, investing in sports tech. Our panel of experts are going to talk about how tech is the newest player in the game, and they're going to discuss investment opportunities, potential risks, and the transformative aspects of tech in the sports industry. Please join me in welcoming to the stage. We've got 4 fast-track financiers who are going to join us. First of all, I'm going to introduce our wonderful moderator. He is the head of finance at the mighty Wayra. Please give a very warm welcome to Pablo Garcia Perez. Thank you. Welcome, Pablo. Great to see you again. A great friend of South Summit. This is not the first time you've been on this stage. And Pablo is going to be joined by the founding partner at Joint Capital, Malte Binting. Welcome, Malte. Great to see you, fantastic. And they're going to be joined by the VP of Finance at Bitcraft. Please give it up for Adrian Galea. Thank you. And rounding off our all-star 4 stars, we've got the founder at Blue Crow Sports Group, Jeff Lunau. Thank you very much. Jeff, awesome. Great to see you.
Okay, so thank you all for being here on a Friday. It's almost lunchtime, at least for me, so let's deep dive. I would like to start, well, the topic of this panel is investing in sport tech, right? And I would like to start the panel by talking about why am I moderating this panel. And that's why, the reason why is because I'm the head of finance of Wayra in Telefónica, and as you may know, Wayra is a venture capital fund that we've been investing for 12 years now, more than 850 invested startups, more than 65 million in investments, euros. And recently, we joined forces with Sportboost to be able to get the best deal flow in the sport tech startups. And yes, that was the main reason. And then, sorry, I forgot about it. Yes, so I am so lucky to be in this panel with these 3, this wonderful set of panelists. We have sportists and also well-known investors. And I would like to ask you first to introduce yourself, and not only introduce yourself, but to explain to the audience how did you become an investor, also in sport tech? Maybe we can start with you, Malte.
Yeah. So my name is Malte Binting. I born and grew up in Germany, became very young age a basketball player. And at the age of 23, I had a big accident, broke my lower back, ended up in a wheelchair, had a 2.5 years rehab until I fighted my way back into pro sports. Played another season in a professional basketball league in Germany, and then decided to found a company because I learned about a technology in my rehab. It's called muscle and nerve stimulation. And I saw that these devices we are using there are quite old school. So I started a smart clothing company, basically, where we integrated electronics and electrodes into the sportswear. Grew this company with all the mistakes you can do as a founder, and sold the company in 2019 to a Swedish competitor. Moved to Stockholm, joined as a chief technology officer there, built up a team of engineers, and grew the company. Left the company January this year after my contract ended, and since my exit, I started to investing in companies.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Adrian?
Yeah, so in my case, my life plan was always to be a professional footballer, but now I am a very happy amateur footballer, and next weekend we have a big quarterfinal game for our local team, so good luck to us. But on the academic and professional side, I mean, I learned my trade in the finance world, in the corporate world, tax structuring, so always this international private wealth management. But as I started understanding the different avenues that this could take, one became extremely clear: entrepreneurship, because it was the most exciting and interesting thing that I was personally involved in, and more so on the creative side of things. So then being a personal sports fan. My family, we grew up playing sports all the time, as well as having an avid interest in technology. It was becoming part of my life every day as I grew up. That's the space I wanted to go into. And after having been at a startup for 5 years, where we helped business angels invest in early stage startups in Europe, I eventually moved on to venture capital, writing larger checks, which landed me at Bitcraft Ventures, which basically focuses on the vertical of video games, esports, digital media. We started out investing mostly in esports and video games, but now, and I'll go into this later on, we're starting to see how these technological advancements, innovations, are affecting other aspects of life, whether that's education, whether that's normal culture, and whether that's sports. And I'll be getting into how that creates a disruptive effect later on in the panel.
Okay, thank you. Jeff.
Pleasure to be here. I have a slightly different profile. Besides being an investor, I'm also an operator. I'm the president of Club Deportivo Leganés here in Madrid. I'm the president of Cancun Football Club in Mexico. And we also have investments in the Middle East, in Africa, and other parts of Europe, mostly in football clubs in the football industry. And my group formed 3 years ago with the hypothesis that technology, entertainment, and sports were all merging together very rapidly, and we wanted to be on the front end of that innovation, but from an operating perspective. So you could think about me as a super user. I've been in sports for 20 years as an executive, utilizing technology and analytics and innovating in various aspects and doing it through teams, and that's where we specialize. I also was CEO and chairman of a SPAC called Sports Tech, so I spent 3 years hunting for companies that were involved in sports and sports technology that wanted to go public. We ended up not consummating a transaction, like so many SPACs didn't happen, but learned a lot about the sports tech industry, and I think it's super interesting, and there's a lot of potential. There's great investment opportunities, and I think there's going to be a lot of change coming in the next 5 to 10 years for sure.
Okay, thank you. So, Malte, you started your career as a basketball player, professional elite. Then you moved to be a founder. Then right now you are a investor, right? How did experiences and knowledge you acquired as a professional basketball player helps you in your job as an investor or in the business world?
Yeah, there are many things you can learn from sports. The first thing I utilized when I founded my company was keep going. This keep going mentality was the most important thing, because when I started my sports tech company, the name sports tech wasn't even invented, right? It was super early. So that was obviously helpful in this phase. And then switching to becoming an investor was actually, or still is a learning curve, a crazy learning curve, because I thought as a founder I have seen everything, and I'm just switching the side of the table and just continue things, right? But actually it's much more. You need to learn so many things. And I started off as a single person, single investor, did some investments, but losing some money, was not happy with it. And then I figured out, okay, this is exactly like sports. You need a team, right? And then I met Jason and the team from Joint Capital. We became a founding team. We founded together. And now as a team, it makes much more sense, right? We have all different strengths. Jason, our CEO, he's more a finance guy coming from banking. He's checking all the background of the companies. Benjamin is doing all the analysis about markets and stuff. And I'm focusing on, hey, where can I bring in my experience as a founder? Where do I see gaps? Where can I help with business development? Maybe can I open a door to the German market? Or my specialty actually is the med tech sector, right? Is the sports tech we are talking to, is it maybe becoming a med tech in the future, right? Which is a very interesting approach. Yeah, so many things. You cannot pick out only one.
Okay.
But yeah, the biggest thing is really, like in sports, you need a team and you need different expertise to, you need to find your role and execute it very well.
Okay, thank you. So, Adrian, the motto, as you may know, the motto of this South Summit is today, 2013, for 2030, by 2030, but that year, is expected the esports industry is expected to be valued at least at 4.5 billion USD. My question is, how is your strategy and your approach to capitalize this opportunity with your fund, and also about your investment thesis?
Yeah, so basically, if you look at how esports, and then I'll get into gaming later, has developed, this phrase comes to mind, which like, the problem with esports is that you cannot turn 15-year-olds into 35-year-olds, and now I'll explain what that means, right? So the hype of esports came around because people started seeing these stadiums, 60,000 capacity, 80,000 capacity, filled with these young teenagers in Asia and Europe and in the Americas, going crazy about these esports games, these electronic video games, right? And this was further exacerbated when COVID came, right? And everyone was staying at home. What were they doing? They were spending a hell of a lot of time playing video games, right? Now, what happened is that these are 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. They're spending their disposable power is not very great. They need to ask their parents for money, or they need to mow the lawn in order to get a bit of funding, right? So that market is still coming, right? So in the meantime, all the hype came in, and you had all these corporate sponsorships, all these branding opportunities that came, and you started to find these first esports companies that were worth $1 billion. You started having M&A transactions on their high 300 million, 400 million funds. Fast forward to today, when the markets are more depressed, the valuation is not quite there. So all these esports companies are at the moment trying to figure out how they can live up to this hyped up expectation that was created in the last 2 to 3 years. But beneath all that, which is very important, there's a wave of people that are coming to market and they're going to have a huge disposable income who, unlike me, did not grow up supporting soccer teams or supporting basketball teams, but grew up following gamers online, following esports entertainers, following content creators. And mind you, when they come to money, when they start being leaders, when they start being decision makers, esports is going to be part of their culture. So what we are doing as an investment company is obviously looking at where these markets are going to be in the next 5 to 6 years, what infrastructure plays are there, what platforms are they going to be using. And something that's very, very key, and which is the main distinguishing factor between sports and gaming and esports, is that these new technologies, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitch, whether it's Facebook, they create the environment in which these gaming companies were built, right? So when you look at how an esports like League of Legends, which is one of the most important video games and the esports in the world, is they understood the power of viewership over Twitch. They understood the power of the content creator. They understood the power of elite gamer training on these servers where you and I, who are normal people, can enter that game and play against our hero. So it's like my little pachanga on the weekend, and Messi turns up. You know, it's kind of equivalent to that. So there aren't those experiences in the traditional world, but there are these experiences in the gaming world, and we're very interested to see what technologies can enable that. So for example, I grew up in the time when YouTube was coming to market, and I was a crazy fan of Ronaldinho. I used to watch all his clips online. The truth is, today, the way I experienced that is exactly the same. So I don't feel, and maybe I'll be corrected, that the traditional sports has really learned how to tap into these unique opportunities for one-to-one or one-to-few interactions that these new platforms create. And that is the opportunity that we're tapping into. And that is where I think even sports can learn from how video games developed to become a more interesting entertainment product, not just for the 40 to 60-year-old fans, which, yes, have the higher spending money today, but what about the next generation?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving to Jeff, these last 3 years, you've been very active in terms of investment, different clubs, different countries. Could you elaborate more about this last activity you had in Blue Crowd Sports?
Sure. amount of money and interest going into sports and sports teams is phenomenal. Lots of funds, lots of wealthy individuals, lots of groups trying to invest in sports teams. It sounds so sexy and it sounds like something that's a lot of fun to do, but every single investment you make in a team requires a lot of TLC and a lot of maintenance, and there's a lot of ways to lose money in sports and a lot of things that can go wrong. And I think when we, our hypothesis is that we want to run clubs really well. And what does that mean? It means, you know, producing results on the sporting side and producing results on the business side and being a long-term investor in a team, not looking to flip an asset, buy low, sell high, because it doesn't really work that way. Most sports teams, at least in the world of football in Europe, lose money. And not only do you lose money, you have a chance to lose a lot of money if your team gets relegated. And so there's a lot of heartache involved. But you look at the business models and the operating models of those clubs that have been very successful, and I can name a few like Red Bull Salzburg, like Brentford, Liverpool, other clubs. There's several clubs here in Spain that have been successful. And they commit to a strategy, they stick to it, and they execute it. And I think for our clubs, our strategy is going to be about execution on all dimensions, because to get a competitive advantage and to win, it's not just one thing. You can't just be the highest tech club or the club that runs the fastest. You have to do a lot of different things. And so you have to hire people that are good at doing these types of things, which means hiring people from non-traditional backgrounds into sports. And so in my 20 years as a sports executive, I've hired more engineers than I have athletes. Because really, at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're problem solving, and we're trying to optimize a result, and we're trying to do different things to get there. And then, of course, the big variable is luck, what happens on the pitch or on the court once the game starts, and you can only control so much of it. But the advance of technology and what it's done on the sporting side is incredible in the last 20 years since I got involved in the industry. The challenge for investors and providers of these technologies is that when a club sees an advantage, they want to keep it to themselves. Otherwise, it's not an advantage. So if you find a technology or you discover something that's going to help give you an edge in competition, you by definition don't want to share it with the rest of the teams in your league. And so businesses that are offering tools to sports teams have to realize that if you go sell something to the Dodgers, they're going to want to take you off the market so that you don't sell it to the Padres. And the other aspect, I think, of investing in sports and tech and other aspects related to sports is that I know everybody wants to sell to a team, a major league team or an NFL team or a Premier League team, and it's fun and sexy to be involved with these clubs that are famous, but at the end of the day, the market is only so big. There's only so many teams at these top levels, and if your product or technology or service doesn't access the weekend warrior or the mom and dad or the kids or the college and high school athletes, then your market's going to be very, very limited. So, I look at companies like Huddle, done a tremendous job. Yes, it's technology that's fundamentally changed scouting in a lot of areas, but every parent that has a kid playing high school football in the US, which is a lot, knows Huddle. And so then you start to broaden the market out a lot. And yeah, pro teams use it, but so do families, and that's where I think you can make a lot of money.
Okay, thank you. And what I wanted to say before is that the reason why Wayra and Sport was joining is because we wanted to get the best deal flow in the market in the sport tech industry, and because we really think that in the coming years we are going to see a lot of opportunities, not only in terms of new technologies, but also in terms of financial returns in this market, right? And my next question is about the future. As I said, the motto of this summit is today, 2030. What do you think about the future in sport tech? I would like to know about your thoughts on the trends, right? And what do you think in the coming years in this industry? Maybe we can start with you, Malte.
I think, or our hypothesis is that the health of the athlete will become even more important, right? So we really like to see companies, startups that are going into this field. How can we improve the athlete health? Coming from training, analyzing movements, whatever it is, right? We are not stopping, some investors are stopping hardware, like they're saying, oh, hardware is too complicated. I think hardware is only complicated. Yeah, it's like software. If you don't have it under control, it's getting complicated. But so we are looking at the complete package, and we think that this generating data, measuring more things, is actually the future. We are very, very early stage when it comes to data collecting in pro sports and also amateur sports. So this is really something we want to see growing with a focus on health of athletes.
Okay.
Yeah, from my end, so you hear a lot about how these new technologies, VR, metaverse, blockchain, are going to affect sports, and they will have an impact, no doubt. But one of my favorite speakers in the sports world is Daryl Morey. He's the general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers, previously at Houston Rockets, and he's very big into big data and analyzing data that affects performance on the pitch. And one of his hotter takes, in my opinion, are how changes in rules will fundamentally disrupt sports. And now I'm going to make a link to that to gaming, so courageous me, right? But basically, think about the three-pointer line, right? So I think that was introduced in the early 90s or late 80s, right? It took about 12 years for us to get to Steph Curry, who is the player by definition who's the expert three-point player. Before that, there were three-point specialists, but they were not as category-defining as Steph Curry was. You're the NBA expert, right? So much so that it changed the league, right? Everybody now, as much as they train drunks, they train three-point shooting, right? The NBA caught wind of that, right? And what was also happening in the meantime is that people started realizing that the way people consume sports or their gateway into sports is their mobile phone, right? Their Twitter highlights, their Instagram highlights, their Facebook highlights. So the NBA has tweaked the rules so that more highlights can be witnessed, admired, or found out in any given game. So changes in the rules really have a maybe subtle but actually quite impactful change on the game. And now how do I link this to gaming, right? So again, using League of Legends because it's the biggest example, one of the very, very interesting aspects about League of Legends is when a season finished, the publisher of the game, the creator of the game, recalibrates the game. So what does that mean? That means that if you have become an expert player with this red ninja, let's use a very simple term, all of a sudden the rules have changed. So all of a sudden, it's a blue military person that's going to be the more important character. So if you were a top-ranking player in Season 1, the truth is you might have started Season 2 already at a little bit of a handicap. And then they change subtle things in the way the gameplay works. They say certain things in the way the maps work. So there's a complete reshuffling of the way kind of people prepare for the upcoming season. Now, how do you bring that to sports, right? You have these age-old traditions. You can't go and disrupt the sport so quickly. So that's where emerging sports come in. And I think there's a very interesting example in Spain, in Barcelona, and I'm sure you know it. It's the Kings League, right? So the Kings League is taking traditional sports, but it's using examples from the gaming world in terms of gamifying the game, these cards that all of a sudden change the rules. And you have a complete new way of experiencing the same sport, and it's very good for Twitch. It's very good for content creators, and it's creating interesting ownership opportunities for investment. The last point I'll make is we made an investment in a company called Karate Combat. So it's a challenger to UFC, but it's not challenging it head-on. It's full contact karate. The pointing, the scoring system works so that it enhances the fight to be very short, but very high impact. So why? So that the Twitter highlights are very spectacular. Okay. And now create an overlay on top of that where the fighting arena is not your typical boxing arena, but it's a gaming studio with a green screen, right? So when the fighters are combating, you create these fantastical 3D environments around them. So it looks really high-tech, really out-of-this-world type of combatants. And if, for example, a combatant is known as the Terminator, in the post-production, you overlay, when the guy throws a punch, you overlay the Terminator to hit that punch and create these effects. So when you're showing your friends online, hey, look at this fight, of course you gonna want to know more. And then there's some also interesting things with blockchain and tokens that are involved there. But I think the more exciting part is how can we rethink sports to adapt to the new world of technology? And that's what I think is really interesting.
Okay, thank you.
I think both of you hit on good points. Health and wellness is a huge area, and it applies not just to the elite athletes, but to all of us. And I think that technology is going to continue to evolve. I think your point is more about sports is entertainment at the end of the day. And the consumer of sports, the fan, the person that's interested, has a short attention span, and they want constant stimulus, and they want to be more involved. And I think a lot of these interesting technologies are going to come around making sports more accessible, not just when you're in the stadium, more things to do in the stadium, but also when you're outside of the stadium, how do you interact more with the team, with the players, et cetera. La Liga is doing a lot of innovative stuff, and it will do more innovative stuff in the future. And it's almost going to get to the point where you're watching a football match on TV, and you can't really separate the video game part of it from the actual experience, the soccer part of it. I love the fact that it's merging together. It's going to be interesting. We did host a Kings League game at Butarque Stadium. I got to kick a penalty. I didn't miss. He stopped it. But it's fun because my wife said, this was the most fun. The crowd was completely different. It was a younger crowd, and the game went by. Everybody was entertained. We had entertainers there. And I think those types of things are going to happen. But we have to make sure we protect the game itself, the actual competitions, because there's still a lot of purists, and the basketball and baseball and football, there's rules, and we need to watch those games. So it's an exciting time to be involved in sports, for sure.
Okay. So we have 1 minute left. I don't know if maybe we can go with another one, a quick one. We all love success stories, right? And I will ask you, any of you, to elaborate a little bit on any successful story in any of your invested startups or not invested startups or technologies in your fields. I don't know who wants to jump.
Well, not yet, but Cancun FC is going to merge the entertainment experience with the sports experience. I mean, there's going to be teams that are going to do really innovative things in the future, and I think it's going to be fun to watch and participate in those.
No, it's similar for me. I think my message is one of the ways to keep the sports alive and keep the entertainment high is to allow people from different parts of technology, different parts of thinking, different parts of creativity, to come together and come up with new ideas. So that's always an interesting mix and a way for new things and fun things to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm really looking forward to the next years where we can see much more things coming up and the field evolving.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you. We are on time, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much. That was absolutely great, and some very, some very candid backstories there. And I think it's always fascinating at events like South Summit to kind of get under the hood and see what motivated people to follow a certain path. And coming through the pain of a sports injury there and having a brilliant professional career even was just so inspiring. So thank you so much for that. Okay, we are now going to move on and look at the very exciting intersection of sports tech and MarTech, or marketing tech. And our next panel opens the winning playbook and looks at technology in sports marketing. So just a little reminder, if you're loving the content here, do share it online. If you're joining us by the live stream and via the South Summit app, do share your thoughts, but do use the hashtag SouthSummit23. And my name is Oisín Lunny. If we haven't met before, feel free to connect on LinkedIn, and I'll send you a mixtape every 2 weeks. That's how I roll. It's a long story. Okay, our next talk is about the winning playbook, tech in sports marketing, and it's going to help us gain insights into the dynamic world of sports marketing and explore the powerful impact of tech for brands and for athletes. So please join me in welcoming to the stage our all-star power trio. First up, we're going to welcome our wonderful moderator. She is a business consultant at More Than Theory. Please welcome Patricia Rodriguez. Welcome, Patricia. Thank you so much for joining us. And Patricia is going to be joined by the general manager at 380 AMK, Sergio Cutropia. Welcome, Sergio. Muy bien. And rounding off the power trio, we're delighted to have the Group Marketing Director at Dose. Please welcome Pedro Enrique! Team Dose in the house, wonderful. My friends, the grand finale is here.
Bueno, buenos días a todos. Es un placer poder estar presentando este panel y sobre todo el que podáis conocer los grandes proyectos que tienen mis dos compañeros. Tengo aquí a Sergio Cutropía, que es director general de 380MK, una agencia totalmente distinta a lo que viene siendo habitual en el sector del deporte. Y lo mismo sucede con Pedro Enrique, que representa a la agencia 12. Otra agencia que también es totalmente disruptiva y que son proyectos muy innovadores en la línea de las ideas que estamos viendo durante estos días en el South Summit. Me gustaría empezar con una breve intro, porque creo que tenemos una sorpresa que nos quiere dar Pedro y alguien que nos quiere saludar. Adelante.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Encantado de estar aquí y estar en una charla como esta, en una conferencia como South Summit. Creo que hay una persona que ha enviado un saludo a vosotros y que vamos a compartir ahora.
Hola a todos, soy Marcelo y estoy muy contento con la participación de 12 en South Summit de este año. Es genial poder compartir nuestros conocimientos y poder ser representados muy bien. Espero que en la próxima edición pueda estar con vosotros, sea en Brasil o ahí en Madrid. Un saludo.
Es eso.
Gracias. Bueno, os quería introducir estos dos proyectos porque al final las ideas de las que venimos de forma de trabajar con atletas hasta ahora, hasta hace unos años, veníamos de trabajos muy individuales, de agentes a nivel individual. Ahora hemos pasado a las macroagencias y, sin embargo, los dos tienen grandes proyectos que son agencias de nicho que se caracterizan por ir a la calidad y no al número de deportistas. Entonces, a mí me gustaría que empezara Sergio contándonos, porque al final tiene más años de proyecto. 380 lleva una trayectoria importante y es verdad que además ha sabido evolucionar y adaptarse a los nuevos tiempos. Así que me gustaría que nos contara qué estáis haciendo, qué habéis hecho, de dónde venís y cuál es la estrategia que estáis desarrollando en torno a marca y marketing.
Genial, pues nada, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias a todos por la asistencia, al equipo de South Summit y de Sportbus por la invitación. Nosotros llevamos alrededor de 20 años trabajando en el mundo del deporte. Un poco, tenemos tres áreas principales de negocios: talentos, agencia y desarrollo de negocio. Y nuestra visión particular es apostar por grandes talentos que creemos que aportan un valor más allá de su carrera deportiva en el sector, y a través de esos talentos desarrollar tanto la carrera principalmente como la poscarrera. Vemos el recorrido de un deportista no solo en un corto plazo de las transacciones deportivas o de los patrocinios que se pueden generar, sino que vemos al deportista como un producto a largo plazo que, más allá de su propia carrera deportiva, creemos que tiene mucho potencial a desarrollar en ese futuro. Eso, por ejemplo, en el caso de Iker Casillas, pues lo llevamos desarrollando desde 2009. Al final, la visión en su carrera deportiva era clara, era ser portero, ser un referente en la portería y en el campo, pero una vez acaba, que es uno de los grandes dramas de los deportistas a día de hoy, el qué hacer después, pues nosotros teníamos una visión clara sobre dónde nos queríamos apoyar y qué queríamos trabajar, en este caso con Iker. Al final hay una pata y un componente muy importante como es la tecnología, que eso, dentro del plan que se trabaja con él, acabó desembocando en Sportbus de una manera muy natural, además, que luego podemos profundizar, y también en la estrategia de contenidos, de redes de imagen que tenemos alrededor de él.
En la misma línea, yo creo que es un poco similar al proyecto que estáis desarrollando, en este caso con Marcelo como buque insignia, y sí me gustaría que nos contaras pues, los pasos que habéis ido siguiendo, en qué punto estáis y cómo estáis trabajando.
Vale, perfecto. Creo que en la verdad el proyecto de 12 empezó mucho antes de su lanzamiento, que ha empezado a lo largo de años de experiencia de Marcelo. Pues hemos vivido muchos desafíos y fuimos entendiendo cómo íbamos a solucionar estos desafíos. Entonces, así empezamos a crear una metodología propia, que es una metodología única, y creo que es el punto más importante de nuestro trabajo. Y la motivación ha empezado con una motivación muy personal de Marcelo, una motivación familiar, pues su hijo más grande, todavía también es jugador. Entonces, lo que pasó Marcelo no necesitaba pasar Enzo. Ahí creamos la metodología, validamos y pensamos, eso puede ser importantísimo, como buenísimo para mucha gente. Entonces, fuimos afuera, salimos a la luz, fuimos al mercado con nuestra metodología y ahí empezamos 12. Entonces, creo que es un poquito de eso que hemos pasado.
Ambos hablan de algo que para mí me parece fundamental y que por la experiencia en clubes, desde luego, se agradece muchísimo, y es del día después del deportista, que es algo innovador en el sentido que hasta ahora no se venía prestando atención, y es verdad que hay proyectos como los vuestros que sí están trabajando en ese día después. Atendiendo a ese día después, vosotros tenéis a Iker dentro de Sportbus, liderando Sportbus, pero también tenéis un amplio ecosistema de deportistas con los que estáis trabajando, y sí me gustaría que compartieras en qué líneas y la forma en la que acompañáis en la carrera a esos atletas.
Pues al final un poco lo que buscamos también dentro de la agencia es, cuando estamos en un sector, en este caso fútbol Iker, nos gusta la diversificación, o creemos que es positiva también para nuestro negocio de agencia. En su momento entró Chema Martínez, en un momento final de carrera, es atleta olímpico, y hoy puedo decir que la estructura de negocio y lo que tiene Chema alrededor está facturando e ingresando más con lo que se le ha creado que en su momento como atleta olímpico, y es algo fácil de ver, de decir, joder, en un deporte como el atletismo, que a lo mejor los ingresos no son tal, ¿cómo te puedes preparar para que en el día después, además de facilitarte ese postcarrera, puedas tener una estructura de negocio? Ahora, por ejemplo, estamos trabajando, llevamos 2 años con Ale Galán, que los 3 últimos años ha sido número 1 del mundo en el mundo del pádel, y al final no deja de ser un chaval de 26, 27 años que sus aspiraciones ahora son ser el mejor en la pista y tratar de rentabilizar a nivel económico ese momento, pero nuestro objetivo un poco también como empresa es ver de qué forma podemos empezar a crearle una estructura siempre vinculada tanto a sus gustos personales como a su afinidad con el deporte en el que está, que a futuro le pueda ayudar a tener una transición fácil y que le pueda ayudar además a tener una estructura de negocio que pueda seguir generando ingresos. Entonces es un poco nuestra visión. No tenemos muchos deportistas porque este trabajo con muchos deportistas requeriría de una estructura gigantesca, y sí que tratamos tanto en persona como en la capacidad que tenga dentro de su vertical deporte de seleccionar bien los deportistas con los que trabajamos para poder hacer este trabajo y que al final ellos tengan un retorno.
Darles ese servicio personalizado y esa atención que al final requieren para adaptar, porque cada deportista es una marca distinta.
Totalmente.
Y es la forma de transmitir y de vincularlo también con otras marcas.
Y cada deportista es una empresa, y cada deportista al final, pues en el caso de Iker, por ejemplo, puedes ver que Iker tiene sus sociedades, tiene sus negocios, pero hoy Sportbus es una empresa diferente, con un desarrollo de negocio diferente, en el que Iker ha formado parte porque tenía esa inquietud y por su problema cardíaco que derivó en Idoven, y de Idoven se creó la plataforma. Entonces, bueno, es al final... Si yo tengo muchos clientes, no puedo tener esa cercanía y ese tacto del día a día, y eso es lo que nos permite a nosotros poder, junto con ellos, poner en marcha proyectos en los que ellos se sientan partícipes y quieran participar y aportar su valor, que es algo muy importante. No son una marioneta, sino son alguien que pueden aportar un valor dentro del sector.
De hecho, lo comentábamos antes, y además me viene bien que lo digas, porque Sportbus nace de una manera natural. O sea, nace de un problema que tiene Iker, conocido por todos. A partir de ahí, una startup que focaliza en el seguimiento de ese problema, y de ahí se crea ese ecosistema. Es totalmente natural.
Eso es.
Y lo mismo sucede con vosotros, en este caso, más que nada con el hijo de Marcelo, ¿no?
Sí, creo que sí. Y que más que eso, está hablando de innovación y todo más. Creemos que la innovación está mucho más do que solamente el uso de tecnología. Para nosotros la innovación es el modelo de trabajo, entonces es hacer alguna cosa única, hacer alguna cosa distinta, y creo que eso que buscamos en nuestro día a día. Y claro que tenemos como uso de tech también, tenemos un proyecto con Marcelo que creo que es muy tech, todo, ¿sabes? Que tenemos un metaverso, en este metaverso hablas en portugués o español, lo que sea, grabamos su voz y luego podemos reproducir su voz en todos los idiomas, en chinés, japonés, coreano, entonces eso está muy guay. Pero hablando un poquito más de la metodología, que creo que es lo gran diferencial que tenemos hoy, tenemos un trabajo que es parecido, que es muy cercano, entonces hacemos una gestión 360 de manera integral, que damos asesoría jurídica, financiera, de bienestar, y creo que lo más importante es la gestión de imagen. Pues en nuestra metodología creemos que trabajar con la imagen es lo más importante, pues así se abre puertas y tiene más oportunidades dentro y fuera del campo. Y nada, es eso que creemos.
Al final estamos hablando de crear marcas, pero no crear marcas impuestas, sino que sean coherentes con los valores y con los gustos y el futuro que quieren para su carrera de los deportistas, ¿no? Porque es la única manera de conectar con otras marcas y de realmente darle valor a esa imagen que ellos proyectan. En este sentido, sí que me gustaría que contarais también cuáles son vuestros siguientes retos hasta habéis llegado hasta aquí. ¿Cuáles son los siguientes pasos que queréis desarrollar?
Nuestros siguientes retos, pues a nivel de cada deportista individual, evidentemente tendrá sus proyectos. Por ejemplo, en el caso de Iker ahora, gracias a un poco el momento de Iker, que ese momento con una estrategia también se trasladó a las redes sociales, que habréis visto pues algunos de sus famosos TikToks, etcétera. Eso además de que queríamos entrar en una gente y en una audiencia mucho más joven, nos permitió también, por ejemplo, ahora estar en el proyecto de la Kings League con una de las franquicias. Y curiosamente, estar en la Kings League, además de que está funcionando bien a nivel de audiencias y a nivel de proyecto, nos está empezando a abrir otros proyectos también vinculados a esa misma franquicia de 1K en otra serie de verticales bastante interesantes. Es uno de los proyectos o de las visiones que tenemos ahora con Iker a futuro, ver qué podemos crear alrededor de 1K más allá del proyecto de la Kings League, que creo que puede ser interesante. Y nosotros como empresa, siempre decimos en el mundo del fútbol hay que seguir el mundial, pues nos vamos a adelantar un poco y nos vamos a Estados Unidos, vamos a abrir una oficina allí en Los Ángeles con la idea un poco de trasladar el modelo que estamos haciendo y que seguramente en Estados Unidos, que son pioneros en todo esto, se está haciendo, pero aportar nuestro valor y poder ayudar también a marcas que vayan a estar involucradas en el mundo del fútbol y del deporte desde un sitio clave que además nos refuerza con la llegada de Messi a ese mercado y con todo lo que se va a generar en la MLS, pues bueno, es un siguiente reto que tenemos de aquí a 3 años súper interesante, muy atractivo, y de ver también en un proceso de internalización cómo somos capaces de adaptar los negocios que hemos asentado en España y en Europa a un mercado completamente diferente, mucho más atractivo y mucho más amplio, y que donde van a tener grandes eventos como es Mundial, y después del Mundial además viene Olimpiadas, así que bueno, grandes retos por delante para nosotros, seguro.
Sin duda, vamos, una notición que abráis oficina allí en un mercado que además estamos viendo estos días que está pegando una evolución espectacular. Las cifras del Inter de Miami en un día yo creo que tienen precedentes, multiplicar por 3 todo lo que supone una figura y todo el trabajo alrededor de un atleta. En vuestro caso, ¿cuáles son los siguientes pasos?
Creo que nuestro objetivo como empresa es continuar creciendo. A lo largo de estos años hemos tenido una presencia digital muy grande y hemos crecido mucho en Instagram y en todas las redes sociales. Hoy somos una de las agencias más grandes de toda España, entonces creo que es continuar creciendo. Cuando hablamos de segmento de fútbol, mercado de fútbol, hemos desarrollado un trabajo que ya está más consolidado. Entonces hoy ya tenemos franquicias de escuelas de fútbol, ya tenemos franquicias de una tienda de podología que ayuda a nuestros jugadores a se desenvolver todo. Y creo que la idea es ir para otros segmentos. Entonces, llevar el trabajo que hacemos en fútbol para la moda, gastronomía, entretenimiento. Entonces, creo que cuando hablamos de futuro hoy, pensamos en ir a otros segmentos con la metodología que hemos desarrollado para el fútbol.
Hablabas de que os habéis convertido, ayer me decías, casi en la tercera agencia con más seguidores en Instagram en España. En ambos casos, yo creo que algo que os distingue también es las métricas, es que le dais importancia a la parte de negocio y de medición y de seguimiento de esos números. Lo lleváis además en el ADN, ¿no? Decíamos antes que dentro del nombre también ambos tienen 12 y 380, tienen un número y eso quiere decir mucho. En términos de números, ¿dónde queréis llegar? ¿Cuál es el siguiente paso al que queréis alcanzar?
Creo que no hay un siguiente paso como cuantitativo, como una cantidad, pero a top, como siempre creciendo. Pero lo que pasa es que pensamos siempre en desarrollar un trabajo y así como los jugadores pensamos en la marca, pensamos en la construcción de la marca, en tener alguna cosa que sea firme, que sea sólida, ¿sabes? Entonces es mucho más sobre construir la marca do que los números, pero más, buscamos más, pero nunca estamos enfocados en cantidades, es sí en calidad, como en todo. En los fichajes, en nuestro modelo de trabajo, siempre enfocamos más en calidad do que cantidad.
¿Y en vuestro caso?
En nuestro caso, retos, ¿no? Al final, en la parte de talentos, que es la que yo dirijo directamente, seguir diversificando. Estamos valorando otros mundos como los eSports, que evidentemente están muy consolidados. Pero bueno, por ejemplo, yo creo que van a venir oportunidades alrededor de este mundo, por ejemplo, en torno a la salida, por ejemplo, de FIFA y la ruptura con eSport, que va a ser patrocinador de la liga, y creo que va a haber un gran impulso ahí a nivel de atletas y de deportistas, que puede ser un nicho interesante. Y seguir viendo deportes, seguir viendo atletas, desarrollar con nuestros atletas diferentes proyectos. Con Ale, por ejemplo, el mundo pádel es un mundo que está en un crecimiento brutal, en donde ahora parece que va a haber en el mundo del pádel un único circuito a nivel mundial, impulsado por QSI, el fondo catarí. Y bueno, seguir siempre las tendencias, intentar estar hacia donde va el mercado y tratar también de posicionar a nuestros clientes en ese mundo de tendencias y de tecnología que creo que va a venir. Ayer veía lo del lanzamiento de Apple de las gafas y todos los comentarios que estaba viendo, pues creo que la industria va a acelerar muchísimo, creo que el deporte, y con esa misión también un poco fundamos Sportbus, creo que tiene que estar ahí y va a estar ahí. Entonces, bueno, estar siempre cerca de esa innovación, de esas tendencias de la tecnología, y también poder posicionar a nuestros clientes en esos mundos que a lo mejor pueden ser un poco desconocidos para ellos, pero para eso también estamos nosotros, para que puedan ver de qué forma pueden aportar valor a través del deporte.
¿Cómo es ese trabajo que hacéis para que los atletas puedan entender ese día después y puedan tener la confianza, que muchas veces es un problema que tienen, ¿no? Al final tienen mucha gente alrededor, pero nunca saben en quién confiar y dónde invertir sus recursos para el futuro? ¿Cómo es ese trabajo que hacéis con ellos?
Del día después nunca te puedes preparar. Veíamos ayer la despedida, antes de ayer, la despedida de Joaquín, y cómo en el post-entrevista se ponía casi a llorar, a decir: ¿estás preparado para este momento? No, no estoy preparado, aunque llevo mucho tiempo pensándolo. Pues bueno, es algo que ellos tienen que ir valorando de a poco. Y un poco como lo trabajamos nosotros es intentar aprovechar el momento tuyo de máxima audiencia, que es cuando tú estás compitiendo, cuando estás en el deporte, para poder a partir de ahí, con tus gustos y aquello que te llama la atención, empezar a construir pequeños movimientos sobre los que tú luego puedas llegar a generar un negocio. Entonces, en el caso de Iker fue con Sportbus, pero por ejemplo en el caso de Ale con Padel ahora, pues es a través de academias seguramente, a través del mundo de pádel formación, a través de la creación a lo mejor de un centro de pádel, a través de también meterle a él en proyectos de innovación dentro del deporte con Sportbus, enfocadas mucho en mundo pádel, en nutrición, que antes veíamos un panel de India. Pues ir enseñándole esas cosas, que hoy con 27 años le hablé sobre India hace tiempo y me dijo: no estoy para esto, estoy para competir, y siempre ese primer no lo vas a tener, pero que ellos vayan como oliendo y viendo qué es lo que está pasando. Y a partir de ese proceso de educación habrá un momento en el que empiecen a ver que eso es interesante para ellos y empiecen a entrar. Y es un poco el proceso que hemos seguido con Iker. Al principio siempre es un no, pero luego lo vas trabajando, lo vas amoldando, y como tienen interés en esas materias, al final acaban entrando. Es un poco el proceso. Y al final, lo que decías de la confianza en nuestro sector es clave. Sí. Tiene que confiar en ti, y si confían en ti es más fácil poder desarrollar este trabajo.
Y vosotros lo estáis haciendo con los más pequeños, muy focalizados en ese proyecto de acompañamiento de niños o de edades más tempranas, en las que ya van cogiendo confianza. ¿Cómo lo estáis haciendo?
Eso es. Creo que hoy tenemos la oportunidad de tener acceso a las canteras más grandes, de los clubes más grandes de todo el mundo. Entonces, hacemos un trabajo muy enfocado en los niños de 12 hasta 15 años y pensamos en una construcción de largo plazo. O sea, una construcción que está enfocada en crecer junto a este niño. Entonces, cuando hacemos la fichaje, tenemos un proceso que es muy duro. Pues como enfocamos mucho en la calidad y no en la cantidad, tenemos un proceso de fichaje que es muy selectivo, y elegimos uno a uno para poder tener un trabajo más personalizado, más cercano. Entonces, a veces hacemos inversiones, como casi siempre hacemos inversiones en los niños, y miramos, esto necesita preparación física, esto necesita un acompañamiento con nutrición, esto necesita, no sé, lo que sea. y ahí buscamos lo que necesita para trabajar a largo plazo. Y cuando decimos de gestión de imagen, los más pequeños, como antes de los 12, no hacemos un trabajo tan fuerte, pues creemos que no es el momento, que con de 8, 7, 6 hasta los 12 tiene que disfrutar, y no tiene que tener la presión de trabajar la imagen y todo más. Con 12 empezamos, pero aún no es una cosa muy fuerte. Es más, hacemos un media kit, vamos a los partidos, sacamos fotos, hacemos un vídeo. Empezamos a hacer un trabajo con marcas, pero es todo muy despacio, pues entendemos que lo más importante es la escuela y el fútbol. No tiene que tener la presión de las redes sociales, pues eso va a vivir durante toda su vida. Pero sí que nos encanta trabajar con los más pequeños y es un trabajo que disfrutamos mucho, pues pensamos en los resultados a largo plazo.
Al final hablabas de esa educación, ¿no? Y de darles herramientas para que no con 12 años, pero sí a futuro trabajen en redes sociales. Ambos estáis involucrados en proyectos de educación, como profesores en algunos casos. Cada vez más vemos más deportistas en el otro lado. ¿Cómo percibís esa incorporación de los deportistas con ese interés que ya no es solo ser entrenadores o bueno, la parte más técnica? ¿Cómo percibís que ya están más interesados en invertir, en asumir puestos de gerencia? ¿Cómo lo veis vosotros?
Pues yo lo veo genial y muchas veces tengo charlas con ellos. Hace poco tuve una con un jugador de baloncesto muy relevante y muchas veces no son ellos capaces de ver todo el potencial que tienen.
Sí,
porque
sin duda.
que hayan desarrollado una carrera de éxito en un deporte profesional no solo significa que sepan hacer ese deporte como tal. Han tenido experiencias de liderazgo, han compartido vestuario, han tenido situaciones de crisis, han jugado en sitios donde hay entornos de presión. Han tenido que negociar salarios, se han tenido que rodear de equipo para trabajar. Entonces, para mí un deportista, un poco con un equipo alrededor y ser capaz de todo ese valor que han ido recogiendo durante su carrera deportiva, transformarlo, o sea, traerlo a la industria, creo que es súper positivo y creo que es algo que normalmente se ha minusvalorado de los deportistas y nosotros, en nuestro caso, confiamos completamente en lo opuesto. De hecho, una de las iniciativas que tiene Sportbus, que es el PO, es tratar de darle a los futbolistas también, en este caso, y abierto a los deportistas, la oportunidad de meterse en la industria y de que vean que son capaces de aportar mucho valor. Porque la experiencia que han vivido y los retos a los que se han afrontado, creo que pueden ayudar mucho a crecer a la industria.
Sí, sin duda.
Yo creo en la misma cosa que ha hablado Sergio, hasta porque 12 han nacido de eso. Entonces, de la experiencia de largo de años que ha acumulado Marcelo en campo, llevamos ahora a la empresa. Entonces, es un poquito de eso, que es la lideranza, la persistencia, todas las características que tiene en campo, llevamos a la empresa de una manera estrategia. Y creo que, además, se puede también, con el trabajo de imagen, se abrir otras posibilidades a estos jugadores. Entonces, que hoy es jugador, pero mañana puede querer hacer otra cosa con su imagen. Pues tienen una imagen que es muy fuerte, muy consolidada y que puede ser tele, puede ser streaming, puede ser música, puede ser lo que quiera. Pues tiene que tener la opción, la oportunidad de experimentar cosas nuevas también.
Sin duda. De hecho, yo creo que la confianza que tienen en el terreno de juego muchas veces o en su deporte es luego la que les falta y esa inseguridad que les genera el estar en determinadas posiciones donde yo coincido plenamente que aportan una barbaridad porque han vivido de primera mano y te dan una información súper relevante para la toma de decisiones. Y vosotros lo veis porque en ambos casos yo creo que están muy involucrados también ellos, están muy presentes en el proyecto y ahí entiendo que van metiendo su puntito de vista.
Sí que es verdad que es su poscarrera, entonces ellos al final tienen una visión de también quiero disfrutar de las cosas que me he ganado, como es normal, pero si somos capaces desde la empresa de construirles proyectos alrededor en los que primero ellos sienten que pueden aportar valor y segundo tienen un interés, es mucho más fácil, porque el día de mañana ellos van a poder conectar contigo, van a venir a la oficina, van a hablar con alguien, tienen una capacidad relacional muy grande, se pueden relacionar y si están disfrutando de lo que están haciendo, van a ser capaces de generar negocio. Si yo le pongo a un deportista a hablar de física cuántica cuando no tiene ni idea, pues evidentemente va a costar mucho más generar negocio. Entonces, y a nosotros también. Entonces es encontrar ese interés y que él sienta que aporta valor. Y cuando tienes eso, tienes la posibilidad de hacer muchas cosas alrededor del deportista.
Creo que es lo mismo. Puedo usar el ejemplo de Marcelo, que todavía no está como involucrado en día a día en la rutina, pues es un jugador de élite, entonces que tiene que jugar, está como 100% con eso, enfocado en hacer su trabajo, pero siempre que tenemos que tomar una medida más de estrategia, hablamos con él y entendamos un poco de su experiencia para solucionar los problemas que tenemos en día a día. Eso creo que es lo más importante. Además, toda la metodología hemos creado con base en su experiencia, entonces que sí, que se puede llevar muchas cosas de campo para afuera. Y el mundo de los negocios es lo mismo.
No sé si tenéis alguna pregunta. Bueno, a mí me gustaría dejar unas conclusiones y me encantaría que el año que viene estuvieseis aquí para contar las nuevas ideas, los nuevos proyectos y esa manera disruptiva y diferente de hacer algo que es verdad que no gozaba hasta la fecha de la mejor fama y que ahora le estamos dando la vuelta entre todos, dándole la importancia que tiene en ese acompañamiento a los deportistas, que la parte que a mí me toca desde club, desde luego, es fundamental y agencias como las vuestras hacen las cosas mucho más sencillas en ese acompañamiento 360 del deportista y esa focalización en ser marcas distintas y en pensar mucho más en el día después, ¿no? Muchas gracias a los dos, ha sido un placer.
Gracias a ti.
Espero que vaya fenomenal el desarrollo del proyecto de 12 y esa oficina de Estados Unidos, que seguro que va a ser exitazo total. Y sobre todo eso, que el año que viene estemos aquí para esas nuevas actualizaciones y esos nuevos proyectos. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Patricia, Sergio, and Pedro. Absolutely fantastic. Well, my dear friends, this is the end of the day here at the next big thing. This morning has been a slam dunk. It's been back of the net. It's been a hole-in-one and a great exploration of the world of sports tech. A huge thanks to Antonella and Bea and the entire Next Big Thing stage production team for making everything run so perfectly and smoothly. So we're going to have the closing ceremony in the arena. We're going to give out the prize for the winner of the startup competition, the big prize. And remember, tonight, South Summit Fest with Joelen Lucama, Too Many DJs, and Juan Magan is happening in Plaza España. I hope you'll enjoy. I will see you all next year. Muchísimas gracias a todos.